Hey, welcome in. This is Kyle is Wonderful here with another wrestling review. This time it's the big Impact Wrestling pay-per-view Slammiversary from June 19th, 2022. And this is unless I'm being kayfabed by the Twitter, I didn't check, but exactly 20 years to the day that TNA had their first ever pay-per-view, which if you remember TNA when they started, which is Impact, they had a name change to Impact at a point. But TNA started out as a weekly pay-per-view, and it was like what 10 something like $10 a month. And I actually got into it somewhere around, I think I was in my senior year of high school, almost about to graduate. So I would say beginning of 2004. And the first episode I watched happened to be Monty Brown made his return. ICP was there, but I also saw AJ Styles. So AJ Styles is the person that I saw on that show. I didn't know anybody that was going to be on the show going into it in 2004. And I came out of that show really a big AJ Styles fan, and I wanted to see more of this Monty Brown guy. So pretty much was a TNA fan ever since that point in time, all the way through. I was in the crowds in WWE in 2006 when like Kurt Angle was going against John Cena. I was a big time John Cena hater, still am. I think he brings the word fake to professional wrestling more than anybody else in the history. Anyway, I was in those crowds cheering Kurt Angle on because I wanted anybody but Cena, but Kurt Angle was the ultimate choice. Then Kurt Angle couldn't beat Cena. They were never gonna let nobody was gonna beat Cena for the decade to come, as we found out. But I could tell, and a lot of people in my area, I'm from Detroit, so almost like those Chicago crowds. But I'm from Detroit. We were cheering on all that. And of course, Angle left to go to TNA, and that's when TNA went from this, oh, they're just this fun little side promotion that, yeah, I watched their weekly pay-per-views starting in beginning of '04. Then I went into TNA got Fox Sports in America, Fox Sports Net. They had, I think it was only a half hour show called Impact, and that's where the Impact name comes from. All the way going back to those original, I think only a half hour show. It was on at like 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon or something like that. I remember getting home from baseball practice. So maybe it was even 5 o'clock, but it was a terrible time slot. Um, but they tried to make it more sports oriented since it was on the sports. So they had like the time limits and the countdown from like this match is a 10-minute time limit and it would count down. But TNA evolved from there, got an hour show, eventually moved over to Spike TV, got a lot of things going. Of course, all the triple threat match between Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, and AJ Styles really just showed us this new style of wrestling. And going all the way back to the beginning of TNA, the X Division, their whole motto was it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. But that's just kind of a catchy slogan. Sure, it's not about weight limits. That's what that got across. But really, what the X Division ended up being was it was a glimpse into the future of the sport. If you're an AEW fan, you get all kinds of X Division matches that we were getting back in 2002 and 2003 on the weekly TNA show. So all the spot like the Young Bucks type matches, and even like a Kenny Omega Okada match is inspired by that style that I'm not going to say originated in TNA. It was in a lot of the independents and stuff going up to that point. And of course ROH formed the same year as TNA. But TNA brought that to the biggest audience possible, more than the independents, and we really saw the next evolution of pro wrestling, this hybrid lucha and not a lot of selling and stuff like that, where the old heads don't really like the X Division style. But that is what wrestling has become in 2022. Almost every match is an X Division style in any company in the world. So really that was a big part of TNA when they started. And I left the very first episode. They brought Hulk Hogan in 2010. I saw one look at where TNA was headed with this Hulk Hogan Bischoff regime, and I left. I also stopped watching WWE at that point because I was so sick of Cena. What I was trying to get at earlier is TNA went from this fun little Yeah, they got the X Division guys, and it's fun to watch. And then the Gail Kim and Awesome Kong stuff started, so they've got X Division and women's wrestling over here at TNA. It went from that nice little alternative to I was desperate, and a lot of other people were desperate for TNA wrestling to truly challenge WWE. Nobody in their right mind really thought this upstart promotion would be able to destroy WWE. Ted Turner and all his millions and billion of dollars of money couldn't destroy WWE. So we never thought that, but we wanted this good alternative. We wanted to have something that we actually enjoy other than this reign of terror from Cena and what other else crazy stuff that Vince was doing over there on the other product. And it did not happen. It unfortunately did not happen. The Bischoff Hogan regime came in, changed TNA completely, drove off a lot of the original fans, brought in a couple of new fans, but they just left as soon as they came. And then TNA has been struggling ever since, but they have this never die thing where everybody counted TNA out. At least there's at least 5 or 6 or 7 different extreme cases where TNA was on its deathbed, and some miracle somebody comes in with some money, whether it be Billy Corgan at one point, the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, or now it's owned by Anthem, who was doing a lot of stuff in Canada, so it is a Canada-based organization now. um, all kinds of long stories there, but TNA refused to ever die. It changed over to Impact. It even survived the Jeff Jarrett coming back in. One of the founders of the original TNA, Jeff Jarrett, came back in with his GFW and started shilling gold pyramid schemes and stuff like that. And um, TNA was at its lowest point when they had literal Impact stickers glued onto the old GFW titles that were just rebranded GFW not that long before. But then Jeff Jarrett got kicked out. Anthem took over and slapped these stickers. Oh, that was just the worst area. So I stopped watching TNA again around that point when like Alberto Del Rio was champion and stuff like that. Somehow, even after losing their television deal to Spike TV and going to Destination America, which is much smaller than Spike TV, and then losing that deal and going to Access TV, which is even smaller than Destination America, if you can believe that. And to this day, Impact runs weekly 2-hour television shows on Access TV, which a lot of people don't get. So a lot of people, I think you can sign up through their YouTube page to get all the impacts, and you can also sign up. They've got a streaming service, Impact Plus, where you can watch all the old, going back to the original weekly TNAs and all the impacts and pay-per-views since. So um, TNA / Impact refuses to ever die, and they have to have some kind of respect for just the fact that they've gone through so many changes and just refuse to die. We could talk for hours about the things they've done in the past, but I do want to look forward to the future and the present, which is tonight. And I'll talk a little bit about more about TNA history as we go, because a lot of this Slammiversary pay-per-view is about the history, the 20 years to the date that TNA was born. So we'll get into it. Usually I never miss anything, but I did miss the very start of the first pre-show match. I thought it was going to be on YouTube, so I was setting up my computer. I had just got home. It was Father's Day, and I just got home at 7:30 Eastern time. Missed the beginning of this digital title match, but we pick it up halfway through. If you remember, Matt Cardona was feuding with Rich Swann, Rich Swann is the digital media champion, and Matt Cardona stole the title from him, but then Matt Cardona got injured in catching a dive from Blake Christensen in GCW. So Matt Cardona is off this card, as well as you can catch my review of the Always Ready. Matt Cardona had his own themed pay-per-view for NWA last weekend, and he had to miss that show as well. He tore his bicep completely off the bone, um, and he went into surgery the exact same, like, I think it was a Tuesday and Wednesday period where CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Matt Cardona, all like either champions or about to be champions, had to go in for surgery on the exact same day. So Matt Cardona out of this match. His longtime partner, Brian Myers will take over. Brian Myers comes into the match holding the title, but not the champion. So Matt Cardona through a Zoom call. So they made sure to do all this through digital media. Um, it is called the Digital Media Championship. So I like that they tried to do a lot of it through digital media for this title. And usually you'll get this match on the pre-show. So it must have been on some form of digital media, but apparently not YouTube. So I eventually got it set up. The match was underway when I got there, and immediately I see some nasty strikes by Rich Swann. So it looks like a hot match right off the bat, or when I'm jumping into it anyway. And I noticed we got the old school original TNA yellow ropes, so that's a nice touch. And I forgot to mention, in Nashville, pretty much the original home of TNA wrestling. We get a big spear by Brian Myers. Rich Swann just barely kicks out. Nice running kick by Swann. Really unique style. So Swann, like a really good innovator of offense. Always fun to watch. Crowd's really hot for this, and the crowd is generally hot for everything tonight. The crowd isn't really here to have you tell them who's face and who's heel, who should I cheer for, who should I not. The crowd just cheers for whoever they like and whoever they notice the most, or like has the most history and stuff like that. So, but overall, not a big crowd, not very many people in this building. I wish it could have been in a much bigger building. Just for example, I don't know if I'll be able to get this to focus on the camera, but this is my ticket from Slammiversary here in Detroit, 2009. So it doesn't seem that long ago, but we're talking the first half of TNA wrestling as opposed to the second half here. 2009. That Slammiversary was here where the Pistons used to play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Probably 10 to 12,000 people strong in that building. So um, definitely a far cry. I don't even know if they had 1,000 people in the Nashville um, arena. I think I could be wrong, but this is the original Asylum where they taped all the original TNAs, but I didn't check on that. But it might be. But it's the Nashville Fairgrounds now. Now it's called anyway. And going back to this Rich Swann Brian Myers pre-show match, it's for the don't forget, the Digital Media Championship. The crowd was really hot for it. Like I said, Swann goes to the top and hits a 450 splash to retain his title. So I think I missed about the opening 6 minutes, or maybe 2 minutes of that was entrances and stuff. But I did miss the beginning of this match. Apologies for that. But I don't understand. I'm pretty sure I could swear I said the pre-show was going to be on their YouTube channel. So I spent a couple minutes trying to find it on YouTube by typing it in and stuff, eventually getting my computer set up for the actual pay-per-view, and then that I was able to watch the pre-show like I explained here. So crowd was really hot for this opener. I hope that I hope they can maintain this energy throughout the entire night, and they pretty much do. This crowd is hot for this TNA action. And I say TNA like I am gonna be calling it TNA more than Impact. It's always been TNA to me, but a very TNA heavy history pay-per-view here. So um we've got coming up next, it's going to be the reverse battle royal, one of the worst ideas in TNA history. I think it's basically being done as a joke here, just a throwback to TNA's weird past. And if you're a listener to the Jim Cornette experience or the Jim Cornette drive-through podcast, like I am, for the last few months now, Jim Cornette's been talking about his time in TNA, and basically we're finding out, if we didn't already know, but if we didn't, we're finding out that, if you remember, Vince Russo was mostly in charge of creative in the early TNA history, which explains all these crazy gimmick matches, and we got all kinds of things on a pole and things like this reverse battle royal here. So basically what we found out on Jim Cornette's show, of course, this is his side of the story, but I definitely believe him because the past backs it up. But long story short, if it wasn't for Jim Cornette being involved with TNA, and that's exactly why Jeff Jarrett and some of the other officials had Jim Cornette involved in TNA, we would have had Vince Russo even more convoluted gimmick matches throughout TNA's history, which could have ruined the company and could have killed the company in its early days. But Jim Cornette was there for a few years, and even though he didn't have any official creative role, Jim Cornette was the only one that would speak up, or everyone looked to Jim Cornette to speak up to Vince Russo and say, well, this is just idiotic, or how do we explain this to the crowd, or if we can't even get the wrestlers to understand what you're trying to say, how are we going to get the audience to understand, and stuff like that. So I definitely believe Jim Cornette when he says that. If you look at Vince Russo's past, and when he was doing the Attitude Era stuff in WWF, Vince Russo had Vince McMahon to tell him, oh, well, that's too convoluted, or that doesn't work for me, pal, or stuff like that. But once Vince Russo went over to WCW and had free reign to do whatever he wanted, we saw what happened. We got Judy Bagwell, Buff Bagwell's mom, on a forklift match. We get Viagra on a pole match for old men, and all kinds of other stuff that did have a big factor in killing WCW. So I believe without Jim Cornette being involved in TNA, TNA would have died somewhere in before it got to the Hogan era. But like I said, Impact slash TNA is the company that will never die. We get a shot at the we got French commentators ringside. They don't say anything about Spanish commentators, but we got French commentators. So TNA or Impact has definitely become a lot more of a Canadian company over the years, which it always had a little bit of Canadian flair to it. Scott D'Amore got brought in pretty early around the especially around the era where they first got Impact on Fox Sports Net. Scott D'Amore was not only bringing people in as Team Canada as a big help to the tag division and the X division, but through his Border City Wrestling and training facility in Windsor, Canada, right across the bridge, only a 20-minute drive for me here from Detroit is Windsor. So a Windsor slash Detroit camp. This was kind of like the New Japan dojo of TNA. This was the training facility and company of early TNA. This is where like the Motor City Machine Guns and Petey Williams and Eric Young, Bobby Roode all came out of this Scott D'Amore Canadian Windsor, Detroit area camp, among others, many others. So anyway, long story short, now TNA's like owned by a Canadian company, and thus that's probably why we got the French commentators probably speaking Quebecois instead of traditional French, and no mention of. I just thought that was a little nothing serious, just something to note there. But someone tells us that the battle royal or no, during the video. So excuse me, I'm skipping around. So the French commentators, and then we're told that the Ultimate X match will start the official pay-per-view. So the Ultimate X ropes are already over the ring. If you don't know what an Ultimate X match is, I'll explain it when we get there. But it's a classic TNA match that I think they invented, but like most things, usually things were invented in a small indie promotion in Japan or Germany or Calgary or something like that. So I didn't do my investigation on that one. But anyway, we're told that Ultimate X match which was a 6-man match. Jack Evans is injured. He was supposed to make his Impact return. You might have seen him last getting his head shaved in the hair versus hair match in AEW. Then AEW basically never used Jack Evans ever again after they shaved his head on TV, and eventually got when his contract ran up, they didn't re-sign him. So Jack Evans got the short end of the straw on that one. We're told Jack Evans got injured. Maybe he was at the Triple Mania. I know Jack Evans makes a lot of Mexico appearances, so maybe Jack Evans got injured at Triple Mania. I didn't look into it, but we're told Andrew Everett, the Giant Killer, and former TNA X Division competitor Andrew Everett will take his place. He's another one of the North Carolina guys, I think, trained by the Hardys, just like Trevor Lee, aka Cameron Grimes, in NXT now. So not a bad replacement. Although I was excited to see Jack Evans. He's always good for a crazy spot or two, which X Division match, Ultimate X matches are all about. So we're also told that we're still waiting to find out the mystery partner in the big 10-man tag between Honor No More and Impact. So we'll find that out later. Spoiler alert, a little bit of a disappointment on that one for me. So it wasn't anything big. Like AJ Styles wasn't the surprise 10-man tag opponent, which was kind of a pipe dream, but they could have definitely picked someone better than they did. So I'll get to that when I get there. We're told that the mystery partner can be anyone from Impact's past or present. So kind of looking forward to the reveal more than the actual match itself. We've seen this match play out multiple times on Impact Television now, just not in the 10-man version. But if you didn't see the former Magnus, now Nick Aldis, the multi-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and pretty much saved the NWA, along with Billy Corgan, who after leaving Impact went and put his money into the NWA. And I've been putting those reviews up as well on this channel, so go check those out as well. NWA's been doing some great things. So Nick Aldis, the former Magnus, and Mickey James' husband will be in that 10-man tag. So then we get a video package. The same, I think we saw it before, but on Impact last week. But it's Josh. It's about the main event. Impact champion Josh Alexander versus Eric Young, longtime TNA wrestler. And this just I noted in the Impact review that Josh Alexander is just terrible in promos like this. Like, don't have Josh Alexander talk this much. I know he's saying a lot of heartfelt things, but he's just not a good talker. He reminds me of Ronda Rousey, and which is not good. Josh Alexander would definitely be better off either being a lot more silent or having a manager do the talking for him. But EY says Josh has no effing idea in this video, which was pretty funny. And we get a black screen when we can hear the crowd after it, which is funny. And during the video package, you hear someone say the battle royal coming up. So a little bit of technical issues here. Now it's time for the reverse battle royal. A lot of people are wondering who we're going to see in this match. And I swear I missed a couple of people because everybody ran out at the very beginning. Mostly the announcers were trying to explain the convoluted rules of this reverse battle royal, which I'll explain the rules in a second. But before that, I was trying to do my best to note who the heck's coming out for this. We got like Johnny Swinger rolled out by Zicky Dice. I saw Macklin, Chris Bay, Mahabali Shira, Crazy Steve, Shark Boy was there. Coming out last is Father James Mitchell, and he brings Slash out. We haven't seen Slash in TNA, and I don't think since 2003. Maybe he had a couple appearances since then, but Slash used to be in Father James Mitchell's. I'm forgetting the name of their tag team now, but Slash is part of PG-13, the tag team that was part of the original Nation of Domination, if you can believe it. The rappers, ICD and the other guy, and I forget which one he is, but Slash is here. So gimmicky battle royal. We're told 16 people will start on the floor, and you have to get in the ring over the top rope. So 16 people start on the floor. You have to go over the top rope to get into the ring. The first 8 people that get into the ring, once 8 people get in, then a regular battle royal starts. But then in TNA, vintage TNA fashion, pretty much every battle royal in TNA, once it gets down to the final 2, then it's a regular match. So 16 people on the outside, you have to go over the top rope. Once 8 people get in, you have to throw them over the top rope back to the outside until 2 remain, and then it becomes a regular match, pinfall or submission. I also then note that David Young is here, so a big appearance from the past, from the Diamonds in the Rough and master of the spine buster from days back. David Young, before Brian Myers did it in WWE, was the original 0 and 100 losses guy in a huge losing streak, and basically he never did anything after that losing streak. How could you? Once you have a gimmick like that, there's no coming back from it. But David Young's here, and he notices his former tag partner Johnny Swinger is here. I think maybe they were both members of Diamond of the Rough, with Johnny Swinger's original partner Simon Diamond. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, I'm missing a few people here. I tried my best, but I ran out of time. Anyway, we also see Action Mike Jackson here. This is his second match in a row. If you don't know who Action Mike Jackson is, he is 72 years old, and last night he had a big match in GCW against Joey Janela, where 72-year-old Mike Jackson did a dive through the middle ropes to the outside onto Joey Janela. So Mike Jackson is just a maniac at 72 years old. Also part of this, and I'm definitely missing a couple people. So Macklin gets in right away. We see Chase Stevens of the Naturals, the former Naturals tag team. Rest in peace, Chris Candido, their former manager. Um, Chase Stevens of the Naturals is here, and he makes it into the ring. Mike Jackson, then 72-year-old Mike Jackson does the old school Taker tightrope walk, except this time on the barrier, and the crowd is going absolutely nuts as 72-year-old Mike Jackson goes halfway around the entire ring, um, tightrope walking on the barrier. So that was a cool spot. But while doing that, Mike Jackson does not make it in. Um, to the ring. Shark Boy, Chris Bay, and Mahabali Shira all make it to the next round. I think I missed a couple people, but I'll then explain now that I can see the 8 in the ring. Although there was one in the ring, I didn't even know who it was, and he got thrown out. So apologies for not knowing exactly everyone in this match. But um, Chase Stevens is the first one thrown out of the final 8. So again, now that they've all gone over the top rope into the ring, they now have to be thrown over the top rope outside of the ring until 2 remain, then a regular match. So Chase Stevens is the first one thrown out. David Young and Johnny Swinger forming their old tag team, double team on Shira. Chris Bay and Steve Macklin have a chop battle. These are probably the two unfortunate that they couldn't have the match on the card tonight. Chris Bay versus Steve Macklin probably would have been a good match to have on this card, even if you only give them 7 or 8 minutes. But anyway, they're here having a chop battle in the gimmicky reverse battle royal here in the pre-show. We get a springboard cutter, the ultimate finest, or the ultimate finesse, I'm sorry, which is Chris Bay's finisher to the apron to Macklin. But Chris Bay also knocks himself, it looks like, silly and out of the match. So pretty good spot there. And again, Chris Bay versus Macklin probably should have just been a match on this card. So our final 3 is David Young, Johnny Swinger, and Shark Boy. All people. Well, I guess Johnny Swinger's on the current roster somehow in 2022, but all legends from the past, you could say. And Swinger turns on his partner David Young almost right away, throws him out. Swinger then throws out Shark Boy and thinks he won, but he forgot that once it's down to the final 2, it becomes a regular match. So Johnny Swinger's all upset about that. Shark Boy then gets in, hits the stunner. Give me a shell, yeah. And Shark Boy gets the win. He's definitely been eating well, but it's props to him anyway. We're told that Shark Boy came up with the Slammiversary name back in the day. So I don't know how great of a name it is, but here we are this year, many years later, and we still have Slammiversary as probably, I would say Slammiversary is the second biggest show of the year for Impact, with their Impact's WrestleMania being Bound for Glory. But Slammiversary is definitely their SummerSlam, if you want to put it that way. So that was it for the pre-show. Pretty good pre-show. And like they already told us, the Ultimate X match will kick off the pay-per-view. That way they can get they don't have to spend time putting the ropes up for the Ultimate X, and only the time it takes to go down. So it starts with a really good video package. The actual pay-per-view starts with a really good video package. We see all the greatest hits. Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles. We hear Mike Tenay talking. Some great stuff. All pre-recorded stuff, but people like AJ and Smojo talking about how Impact was great, and they all have like they all look 10 years younger. So all pre-recorded stuff, but really great video package to start out here. That's the common theme tonight is the history of TNA. So like I said, we're gonna start with the Ultimate X match. If you've never seen an Ultimate X match before, there is an X formed of two ropes crossing each other, hung over the ring, and the X Division title, or sometimes a non-title match, they'll hang an actual X. But since this is a title match, they hang the X Division title on the X above the ring as if it was a ladder match. But ladders are um, prohibited from use in this match. The only way to get to the titles is shimmying yourself some either um, well, any way you can shimmy yourself across the ropes and get into the middle. So throughout the years, we've seen all kinds of amazing spots and springboard moves off the ropes onto the ground and fighting on top of the ropes. So we've seen it all at this point. So they'll definitely have to try and pull out something special to stand out from all the ones we've seen in the past. Trey Miguel is out first. He gets a good reaction. Um, Formerly of the he was in TNA with the Rascals stable. The other two members left to go form MSK in NXT. So Trey Miguel has been here by himself doing good things. He is the former X Division champion, and his gear looks great. And with his hood up and stuff, he does give me a little bit of Ricochet vibes out of Trey Miguel. So which is definitely not a bad thing. Ricochet is amazing. Andrew Everett is out next. The crowd doesn't really cheer or boo. And again, he was only added to the match last second. I wonder when he found out he would be in this match, but Jack Evans had to be replaced after being injured. Um, Kenny King now out. He's part of the Honor No More faction. If you don't know, when Ring of Honor closed business, a bunch of the Ring of Honor regulars came over to Impact. Of course, they were signed by Impact, but they tried to make it look like the old NWO invasion. It started with only a few people, then they grew in numbers. Kenny King was one of the later people to join, and Kenny King won't join the other 5 members of Honor No More in the big 10-man tag match later. Instead, Kenny King will be in this Ultimate X match, a former X Division champion himself. And Alex Zane is now out. Not a ton of cheers or boos, which is not a good thing. Uh, I don't know how much they know of Alex Zane, but I'm a New Japan fan as well. And the work that not only Alex Zane, but also the X Division champion Ace Austin did at the Best of Super Juniors just last month, for a full month in that long tournament, did great work. So Alex Zane is a great wrestler, great look to him. Um, Speedball Mike Bailey's now out, and unfortunately, the crowd a little quiet for him as well. If you haven't seen Speedball Mike Bailey, just go search YouTube Mike Bailey highlights. This guy's been putting on clinics throughout the independent scene, every promotion imaginable. He's also been featured in TNA, or I mean Impact, quite a lot in recent months. And his whole story is that he's from Canada, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get any visas to leave Canada, and for like 7 or 8 years. So Speedball Mike Bailey toiled away on the Canadian independence for like 5 or 6 years, a really long time, and just really honed his craft. He's got a great look to him, a really good hybrid martial arts and X Division style. So I was kind of hoping for Speedball to win this match personally, and it was unfortunate that the crowd didn't give him quite as big a reaction as I thought they would. But decent cheers for Ace Austin. That's the Bullet Club's newest member. If you didn't know, Ace Austin was getting lines out the door in New Japan for his work at Best of the Super Juniors. The New Japan fans at every meet and greet throughout the tournament were having lines out the door, and was becoming one of the most popular members of the junior heavyweight division in Japan. And then by the end of the tour, Ace Austin turned heel and joined the Bullet Club, which, I mean, Ace Austin has always been heel in Impact, but he was getting big cheers in Japan, but then joined the big heel Bullet Club faction, and he's back here in Impact after being gone for a month, and he's here to defend his X Division championship in the Ultimate X match. So Good cheers for him. So he doesn't come out with the title. We've already got the X Division title hanging from the Ultimate X. So the match starts now. We've got super quick pace, of course. Everyone dives to the outside. It's going to be one of those spot fest matches. Classic X Division match, classic Ultimate X match. So strap in. This is definitely going to be your Young Bucks type match, for lack of better terms. Trey Miguel then looks in the camera after a big spot, but almost trips over someone while backing up. That kind of a funny accident there. Ace takes a really hard shot to the neck on the apron at a point, so Ace isn't holding back at all after his long, grueling Best of the Super Juniors excursion. Andrew Everett, of course, the replacement for Jack Evans' injury. Andrew Everett does a snap German the Trey on the apron, so we're getting some big apron spots here, and then a spinning dive to everyone. So just all kinds of action to start out this match. Then a 6-man tower spot, and then a Canadian destroyer off the top rope from Trey Miguel to Zane. So just all kinds of car crash type match. Super quick pace. Great way to start the night. Classic X Division stuff here. Now we've got 4 men on the X climbing from each direction all at once. But Andrew Everett gets in between them. Andrew Everett almost wins at a point here, but a head scissors from a hanging upside down speedball Mike Bailey takes him out. Now we've got Zane on the ropes, but he gets knocked off by Austin Ace. Those two, Zane was really pissed that Ace Austin joined the Bullet Club. Both of those two were in the Best of the Super Juniors together. So there's definitely a running story here between Zane and Ace Austin. Mike Bailey gets knocked off by Ace Austin. Ace pulls him up. Or no, I'm sorry. Bailey knocks off Ace Austin and does a good show of strength to pull himself up on the X. Bailey struggles to getting the belt unclasped, but if you guys don't know, in previous and in some of the original Ultimate X matches, the damn X Division title was falling off the X, which then we had to stop the entire match and get an official on a ladder to hang it back up, and then it fell down again within the same match. So they've definitely learned from their previous mistakes, and Mike Bailey he has to use all his strength to get this belt unclasped as if they super glued it, so it wouldn't fall. That was pretty funny, but great decision here. Mike Bailey is your new X Division champion. I think he's been putting in some of the best work of 2022. Definitely, in my opinion, a top 10 wrestler in the entire world, and deserves the X Division title here. I'm looking forward to an Ace Austin match. Ace Austin should get a rematch soon, but I'm also looking forward to the Ace Austin's Alex Zane feud that can be coming in the future. So I hope to see more of Alex Zane in TNA in Impact. See, I cannot call it Impact. To me, Impact is the television show. It's like me referring to WWE as Raw or SmackDown in my mind, because the TV show that TNA had was Impact. So I'll never get it through my brain. So apologies for all you Impact aficionados that don't like it being called TNA. I'm really trying my best. Anyway, we get a "You Deserve It" chant from the crowd. So despite not getting huge cheers, Trey Miguel was definitely the person the crowd wanted to win. Um, but they look to be okay with Speedball Mike Bailey winning here, and I'm definitely glad to see him win the title. Then Tom, the former Tom Phillips, now going under from WWE, and now going under his real name, Tom Heffernan, and he's the play-by-play announcer I should have mentioned earlier, and the former Adrian uh, English of Rusev Day fame and Vaudevillains fame is his color commentator, and they've been the announce team for quite a few months. I'll take literally anyone over Josh Matthews. I hope to never hear Josh Matthews on Impact ever again. But I'm cool with Matt Stryker, but Tom Phillips has been doing a fairly good job and seems to have pretty good chemistry with Aiden English. I'm pretty sure they were good friends all the way back in NXT, which really shows and comes through on their broadcast. Just like Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan, we love them because they were just legitimately really good friends in real life. So that came across on the broadcast. Anyway, Tom tells us we're paying respect are that were respecting history of Impact tonight, and then they pay tribute to Bob Ryder, one of the original founders, and one of the founders that doesn't get named as enough. Of course, we know Jerry Jarrett and his son Jeff Jarrett were founders, but Bob Ryder was right there from the beginning as well. Did a lot of the behind the scenes and the business type stuff, and unfortunately passed away in 2020. So almost 2 years ago, and tonight is dedicated to him. So Tom introduces the French announcers for a second time in 30 minutes. Of course, one of them was in the pre-show, so not everybody watched the pre-show. But I thought that was funny that not only once, but I thought it was kind of funny that we said, "Oh, here's the French announcers for the first time," but here's a second time in 30 minutes. Really hammering it home. Here's the French announcers, um, and one of them kind of looks like a French Don Callis. Um, just one thing of note. So we see footage of Sammy Callahan and Moose in solo confinement, and they will be in another one of the classic gimmick matches in TNA Impact history, the Monsters Ball match. And finally, they went back to the original rules of the Monster Ball, which meant the original rules of the Monster Ball back in the like Abyss versus Raven days was you had to be in solitary confinement in the darkness, no water, no food for 24 hours straight, and then only when the match starts will you be let out of your confinement. So we went back to that. The Impact said that they would have a 24-hour camera on, or at least show highlights of them being in their solitary confinement with like night vision. I forgot to go look at that, but they showed a little bit of that footage here, and I'm sure it was all kayfabe, of course. Um, and then they run down every match that's on the card, despite us, anybody watching this pay per view, already buying the pay per view. But the reason they're doing this is they have to tear down the Ultimate X, especially because there's a ladder match later. So, or a Queen of the first ever Queen of the Mountain match, I should say, not a ladder match, but a Queen of the Mountain match. I'll explain those rules as we get there. We've had King of the Mountain matches in the past, including the one I've seen live at Slammiversary 2009 here in Detroit, but I'll explain that when we get there. I think instead of running down the card, they could have like, interviewed somebody from the past, no matter how big or small, even if it was Shark Boy, who we already saw. I think we could have done better there. Anyway, because there's no reason to run down a card of a pay per view that people either already bought. Scott Hudson's now in the back. So you might remember Scott Hudson from all the way from WCW, but then he was one of the announcers in the original TNA weekly pay-per-views. Scott Hudson is in the back, and he's got the Motor City Machine Guns, Nick Aldis, the former Magnus, and Frankie Kazarian. And they're all four teaming up with a mystery partner later on to fight Honor No More in the and they're fighting for the honor of Impact against Honor No More, who's come in like NWO to take things over. Um, Motor City Machine Guns are named the most impactful tag team of all time, which is a cringe name, but do your thing, Impact. Kaz then runs down all the Honor No More members, which was pretty funny. Good promo here by Frankie Kazarian. And he makes fun of Eddie for the Celtics losing. Kaz is a Lakers fan, I'm pretty sure, so that's a little rich since the Lakers didn't even get close to the finals. But still funny there because we all know Eddie's a big Boston guy. And Aldis with a really good promo here. Nick Aldis, the former Magnus. And Scott then tries to find out who the fifth man is. Aldis says many names were on the list, but once they saw this name on the list, it was a no brainer. And then Scott even uses the word. He says, "I think they're kayfabing us." Scott Hudson says. So that was kind of funny. Then we get another video package. This one about Sting. Sting is definitely a TNA legend. He spent, I think, over a decade in total in TNA between his. I think he had 3 different runs on all of them with pretty long runs in TNA. So Sting definitely a TNA legend as well, and good to see Sting, even though if it's only in video format. We'll see other legends only in video format later on, which of course it would be much better to have them actually there, but I'll take the video format over nothing. So Next, we've got the Knockouts, which is the name for the women's division and always has been the name for the women's division in Impact Wrestling, going back to Gail Kim and Awesome Kong's rivalry, which really kickstarted the Knockouts division and, in my opinion, kickstarted women's wrestling mainstream USA. Of course, a lot of things were going on in independence and stuff, but as far as being and if you can call TNA mainstream at the time, but at least on television. Rosemary's out first. To a really good reaction. Rosemary's been a stalwart of the Knockouts division for a long period of time now. Going back to the original Decay when Billy Corgan was here and they had the Marilyn Manson music because Billy Corgan had all the ties to the music industry, was able to get some hookups on that, but still the K music that they had after Marilyn Manson still is a classic theme. Rosemary's been here the whole time. She looks good in her cloak in the darkness. Really good, creepy look here. And she's still very over with the crowd. And Taya Valkyrie is going to be Rosemary's partner. Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary have had an on again, off again relationship throughout the years. And Taya left for a long time, right around the time that the original um, whatever that house reality show is. I can't remember what it was called, but all that silliness. Now Taya Valkyrie's back and she's here to team with Rosemary, even though we don't know if her intentions are pure or not or what's going on, but they will take on the inspiration or the influence, my apologies, and that's Madison Rain, who's somehow from the beautiful people is still in Impact and is still holding Impact Gold. And she teams with Tennille Dashwood, formerly known as Emma. So, um, just a quick side note, if you go back to my NWA Always Ready pay-per-view, I wasn't quite thrilled what I saw at Taya Valkyrie. To me, it looked like she went into business for herself and was being reckless in the ring against her opponent, Natalia Markova. I don't know. Maybe I could have just been being kayfabe, but she was the face in that match. So there was no reason for me to be kayfabe into thinking she knocked this woman unconscious, unless we're just trying to put over the fact that she's big and strong and good. But I said on that Always Ready review that I could care less if I ever see Taya Valkyrie again. And ever since I said that, I've now seen her on NWA Power. I've seen her on Impact on Thursday. I've seen her now on this pay-per-view. And I also noted, I haven't watched it yet, but Taya Valkyrie's on MLW. And I didn't watch Triple Mania, but she was also there defending the Triple Mania women's title. So Taya Valkyrie's everywhere right now. And I just don't want to see her. I'm not a big fan. Maybe I was kayfabe. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But either way, here we go. Knockouts tag title match here. And we're reminded that Madison Rain had still holds the longest singles knockouts title reign in history, which is just ridiculous. She wasn't even really that better of a wrestler than Angelina Love or Velvet Sky, which weren't great wrestlers to begin with. So, um, kind of ridiculous. Anyway, this match starts fast, but it settles in not too long after. The influence, as a reminder, are the tag champs coming in, showing great teamwork, a lot more experience as a team, as opposed to Taya and Rosemary just getting acquainted again after a long period of absence. And the crowd's chanting for Rosemary big in this match. She's getting Rosemary's getting isolated at a point here. We get double teams and quick tags to keep Rosemary in the corner. So Influence definitely showing their experience and stuff here. And Taya now gets in, hits the slowest in slow motion version of the Blue Thunder Bomb I've ever seen. Rosemary tags back in, which is kind of weird because Rosemary had just been getting beat up and she tags right back in after one move. So a little awkward there, but a great looking spot here. Taya spears. A great looking spot, but it was awkward because it was a double spear from each corner. And unfortunately, the Influence both banged the back of their heads and maybe even both got concussed. So Madison Rain and Tennille Dashwood gets speared by each Rosemary and Taya, and then on the spear hit the back of their heads on each other's back of their heads. Not a good spot here. So again, Taya Valkyrie for the second week in a row, possibly concussing someone. I'm just not a fan of this woman. Anyway, both Influence members look hurt, maybe even concussed. Like I said, really stupid spot to try. Madison is struggling to finish, and that's pretty much the end of the match. I was a little upset, so it looks like I don't even write down. Oh, Rosemary gets the pin on Madison Rain, and we've got new tag team champions. We don't even know if these tag team champions can get along, so I'm assuming before too long we'll be getting Rosemary versus Ty Valkyrie in a feud. But as of current moments, they are the new Knockouts tag team champions. We go from that to another sent in video, this time by Kurt Angle. Looks like it's almost a cameo that he sent in, so that was kind of funny. But Kurt Angle talks about his history for about 20 seconds only, and says thanks to all the Impact fans and all of Impact. Then we get a video package for the long-running feud between Moose and Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan just recently returned after being out for 10 months, but before that, there was a long feud running between Moose and Sami. So, video package about that. And Moose is the former champion, recently lost the title to Josh Alexander. So Moose stepping down a little bit on the card here to fight the returning Sami Callihan. Again, this is going to be a Monsters Ball match. So they show us a little bit of footage, and they note that Sami Callihan was fine with being in the dark for 24 hours, where Moose was a little more hesitant about it. But I'm sure he'll survive, and survive he did. We see both of them come out of whatever room they were isolated in and walk to the ring from the back, Goldberg style. So again, I'm glad they brought back after a while. That's how the original rules of Monsters Ball were. But even though it was kayfabe, it was a cool rule. And after a while, they just stopped with that rule, and Monsters Ball just became another term for a hardcore match, which took away. Then it just became a hardcore match. So anyway, which in essence it is, but by adding the whole, they were in, like, I remember Monty Brown coming out with like big stubble on his face, where usually he was clean shaven. So stuff like that, and it made be like some makeup to make it look like he had bags under his eyes, um and he was all tired and stuff. So stuff like that was what made a Monsters Ball match different from a hardcore match. So good to see them go back to the original rules here. Moose comes out of it. Basically, both of them are blinded by the light because they were in darkness for 24 hours. So both kind of blinded by light when they come out. And if you remember, Moose's entrance also includes a really bright light shining on him. So we're led to believe that Moose is like completely blinded at the beginning here, where Sami Callihan then comes out, attacks Moose from behind during the entrance. So the bell rings at this point. Sami yells right in the camera's face, and I just think to myself, Sami Zayn is the face, or sorry, Sami Callihan is the face in this situation. But to me, the character of Sami Callihan doesn't have any redeeming qualities. Like, he just looks like he would be the smelliest guy you'd ever meet, and just an asshole. So, why should I cheer for Sami Callihan exactly? So I'm definitely cheering for Moose in this one. He has more redeeming qualities than Sami Callihan, in my opinion. Weapons are already being used. We've got baking trays used, trash cans. Moose is bleeding from the mouth. Um, so he steals a bottle of water from a woman in the crowd, and to get the blood out of his mouth. It's kind of awkward but funny. Sammy's now busted open, so we've got blood quickly in this match, and blood gets all over Moose's white pants. Moose is wearing white pants, so usually when you see someone out in white in a hardcore match, you know there's going to be blood. We get a really awkward table spot. Sammy goes through it. Super slow pace plunder match. Not exactly my favorite kind of style. Like, this is like Triple H's style of match. Like his 20-minute brawl and walks with plunder. But Moose tries to break Sammy's ankle at a point, but Sami Callihan dodges it. We get a spear from Moose countered by a big plastic trash can. Moose goes inside of the trash can. Moose is now feet up in the air as Sammy puts the trash can right side up, and it seems like way too long that Moose is upside down with feet kicking in the air as Sammy goes to look for something. So Moose looking like a complete idiot in this match. Excuse me, allergies. Allergies been crazy for a month here in Detroit. Cottonwood just is never going to go away. Anyway, um, Moose eventually gets out of the can, but while that was happening, Sammy Callahan sets up a door with barbed wire on it. So straight out of, I don't know how many times we've seen doors in Impact, but I know that the weapon of choice pretty much in GCW has been doors. So like kind of this same effect as putting someone through a table or a piece of plywood, but I think it makes a way bigger sound. A lot of these doors are like hollow, so it's a little bit safer or whatever. But yeah, we've got a door spot here. Sammy sets up a door that has barbed wire written around it, and I wrote down maybe just maybe this is a subtle jab or joke or something at this is the forbidden door, the forbidden door that is a door that has barbed wire on it that Sammy Callahan's going to throw someone to or attempt to anyway. So um, I thought that was pretty funny, even if that wasn't the joke. It's if I take it as a joke and think it's funny, then it was a joke. Just like the whole thing. Did magic really exist ever in reality? Well, if people believe magic exists, well then magic existed. Anyway, going back, this is a Monsters Ball match. We've just got the door with barbed wire set up by Sammy Callahan. So we're setting into the second gear here. Um, Moose gets pushed off the top rope to the outside through the table that we forgot was set up. So that was pretty funny. I mean, a good spot, not really funny. And the crowd really loved that spot. It did look pretty cool. Sammy says F you to the camera slash crowd. So Sammy, pretty funny here as well. Callahan now goes get the black velvet bag, the Abyss special. We're not quite sure if it's going to be tax or glass or some kind of hybrid or what in there, but it is indeed tax. Um, so tax are strewn out all across the ring, and I, there was rumors maybe we'll see Abyss in this match. Now Abyss is signed as an agent to WWE, but there was rumors that well maybe WWE is owed a favor from Impact from allowing Mickey James to have the Impact title out on the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So there was rumors that maybe Abyss or Bobby Roode or Petey Williams or AJ Styles, all talent signed currently to WWE, could make an appearance tonight. So we were wondering if Abyss did make an appearance, it would be during this Monsters Ball match. Spoiler alert: we do not see Abyss, but we do get the Abyss tax here. Like I said, strewn all the way out across the floor. Um, I also wonder maybe Raven, who isn't signed to anybody. Also, Raven is one of the people that was in a lot of Monsters Ball matches and in TNA original. So we do not see Raven either. But we get a sky high out of nowhere by Moose to put Sammy Callahan right into the tax back first. But unfortunately for Moose, he hits like butt, gooch, and ball sack first into the tax, which, oh my God, I don't even want to imagine if something like that happened. But Moose is a madman for trying that. Again, Moose only wears like the little tights, so not much protection there. Hopefully wearing a cup. Um, But yeah, that was nasty. Moose gets up and drags and pushes Sammy Callahan around on the tax, which the crowd chants, "You sick F, you sick F," which is always one of the great chants. Um, Sammy set up now gets set up in front of the barbed wire door that was set up earlier by Sammy, but Callahan counters Death Valley Driver through the door. Um, didn't look very impressive. The size of Moose and the impact of the move just pretty much made the door look like it was made out of paper. It disintegrated so much. And it almost makes you forget that it had the barbed wire on it to begin with because of the disintegration. So not a great looking spot per se, probably hurt more than it looked great, which is never good in wrestling. Moose somehow kicks out of this this Death Valley driver through the barbed wire door. We do get a look at Moose's back. It looks like it's cut up a little bit. So again, never good to have a move that hurts more than it looks good. It's supposed to look good and not hurt, and not look good. The exact opposite of what you want. So, Sami Callihan now gives Moose a trash lid. So we're gonna have dueling. Sammy's also holding onto a trash lid. So dueling lid shots to the head, making super loud noises. So a pretty good spot here. Probably didn't hurt as much as the other ones and makes a loud noise. So again, this is what you want. You want it to not hurt but look good. They seemingly knock each other out at a point, so they're both down at this point. Pretty good match overall. I wasn't really looking forward to this match, and it started out slow, but ended up getting pretty good. And like I said, I didn't like the door spot, but then again, I did like this trash can spot. So you might have liked the door spot and thought the trash can spot was lid spot was dumb. So to each their own. Everything in wrestling is eye of the beholder type stuff, and but attacks are just sticking out of both of them while they're doing all these moves. So pretty painful looking all around. Sammy looks to have won at a point, but Moose kicks out again, and crowd's going crazy. Moose with a low blow to the slash zone of Sami Zayn or Callihan. So crowd boos that. Moose showing that he is the heel in this match after all, even though Sami Callihan isn't a face and shouldn't be a face in my opinion. And I completely had forgotten that Moose was the heel until this low blow. Moose slammed on the bottom of an upside down trash can with didn't give at all, and Moose won't stay down. So Callahan got through the low blow all right, and with no sold it basically. Moose won't stay down, so we know. So just nothing will keep anybody down. The crowd cheers for Moose now after that. Um, Barbed wire bat now pulled out of a different trash can by Callahan, and Moose gets hit in the torso and back. We get the third Cactus Driver 97 of the match. I didn't mention the other two, but that was part of Moose kicking out each time. Third time now, and Moose stays down. Sami Callihan is your winner of the Monsters Ball match. Pretty good match overall. But again, Sami Callihan, I hope he turns heel soon. We get a video package now about the tag title match between the Briscoes and the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers is Bullet Club members Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. And if you didn't see the Good Brothers visit to the Briscoes farm 2 weeks ago on Impact, definitely go look that up on YouTube. That was a pretty funny segment. Featured a little bit of like a cinematic style match, but also just some funny spots. So go look that up. The Impact tag title design, like the shape of it is so ugly. One of the worst like shaped belts in major wrestling, in my opinion. We got the new never open weight champion, Carl Anderson, who defeated Tama Tonga over last 8 days ago at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion card. Doesn't bring the title with him, but just note that Carl Anderson's been doing some good stuff. He's got the Big LG, Doc Gallows, Luke Gallows with him. The Good Brothers debuted in Impact Slammiversary 2020, so 2 years ago, and then last year's Slammiversary, the Good Brothers won the tag title. So, Good Brothers are making Slammiversary their home. Good reaction for the Briscoes. Briscoes are fairly new to Impact Wrestling, long-time members of Ring of Honor, and another one of those out of Ring of Honor since Ring of Honor shut down, signing with Impact along with the rest of Honor No More. But I don't think there's really been any interactions between Briscoes and Honor No More. If you remember over the WrestleMania weekend, Briscoes with a match of the year candidate against FTR. Definitely go watch that match if you haven't seen it. Also, of that match, I should have met over that weekend. Another match of the year candidate, or at least match of that weekend candidate, was Speedball Mike Bailey versus Bandito. I was talking about how good Speedball was. So definitely go check that match out as well. But Mark Briscoe, we're told, his wife just had her 7th child this week, so Mark Briscoe might be a little bit tired, or maybe he's just used to it by now with having 6 other children already. We get a dive to the outside by, Jay, I think it was, and a cactus elbow drop by Mark. So 2 matches in a row with some cactus jack love. Mick Foley, I wouldn't call him a TNA original, but Mick Foley, former Impact champion, did a lot of good work in TNA after his retirement, came in to wrestle. I mean, it was good promo stuff and good stuff, but I also think Mick Foley probably shouldn't have been wrestling. Those matches and his run as champion aren't the greatest of all time. We get a chair thrown into the ring, and Mark starts a chant with that chair by banging it together, like opening and closing it. So gets the crowd to chant. That was pretty funny. Then sets down the chair and does a Sabu style leap from the chair to the outside. So a little bit of Cactus Jack and Sabu love. Sabu, many appearances in TNA throughout the years. Now we get basically a normal tag match after all that craziness. So a normal tag match breaks out in this tag team championship match. Who would have thunk it? Um, we see Aiden English notices that one of Jay's locks, one of his dreadlocks, is on the mat. So physical match here. He's even losing hair. Mark then goes nuts. Crowd super into it. We get a Magic Killer, the finisher of the Good Brothers Magic Killer attempt, broken up by a Jay Spear. Jay then gets set into a ring post. We get a Too Sweet chant from the crowd. So the crowd's just here to have fun tonight, which is cool. Basically, this whole card is just all about having fun and honoring the past. Anderson's beating up Mark now until Jay gets in. We get a double team move, almost pins Anderson. Jay now gets tagged in. Good exchange between Anderson and Jay. Great stuff here. Mark's now up for a Doomsday Device attempt, but a thumb to the eye gets the Good Brothers out of that situation. Good Brothers now double team Jay, Magic Killer, and it's over. 1, 2, 3 with their third Impact title, winning their third Impact titles are the Good Brothers. We get a stare down between both teams after the match, and the music stops. So the Good Brothers music was playing, but it stops. So when the music stops here, I assumed, ooh, what tag team are we getting? And before I could even rack my brain, and this is probably would have been my number one guess had I had time to even think about it. But before I have time to think about it, Cowboy James Storm, Wild Hat Chris Harris, America's Most Wanted, the original great TNA tag team formed out. TNA Originals are out to a big ovation. Cowboy James Storm's got a 6-pack with him, so I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen here, and in fact, that is what happens. James Storm looks in phenomenal shape. I know he's been doing some work in NWA and stuff since leaving Impact, and we've seen him in Impact not even that long ago. He had his 1,000th match where we also saw Chris Harris there. So Chris Harris also made an appearance 2 weeks ago in a backstage segment with Shark Boy when they were talking about TNA originals and stuff like that. Or it was actually 3 weeks ago. We got the Blueprint Matt Morgan the week after, which talk about if you got Shark Boy and Chris Harris being up here, then it's a downgrade to the Blueprint Matt Morgan, and then an extreme downgrade this last week. Aces and Eights members Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff, who indeed had a match on Impact. I can't believe I watched terrible Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff have a match in 2022. Anyway, this was a good segment to end the tag team title match. Storm and Harris, America's Most Wanted, bring out some beers. They pass the beers out to the other 4, and the 2 of them have the other 2. And first Storm gets on the mic and says, "I know you boys like to fight and drink. Well, since you just fought, it's time to drink." So he hands everyone a beer. Storm brings up everyone needs a designated driver. So there's your Hardy Boys shout out. Thanks for all your hard work, Hardy Boys. Your only mention tonight is make sure you have a designated driver, which of course is good advice. And I'm definitely not excusing Jeff Hardy for anything. Even if you're going to drink, make sure you don't drive. So never excusable there. Hopefully Jeff Hardy can get the help he needs. and can come back and live a long life without hurting his or anybody else's. That's the problem. When you drive drunk, it's not just about you. It could be a whole family coming back from a visit to grandma's house, and your drunk ass kills all four of them. It's stuff like that. So, not to bring it down, but Storm did mention make sure you have a designated driver here, and says people doubted this place would last a week, doubted that it would last a year, doubted that it would last a decade, but yet we're still here 20 years later. And to all the haters, I say this: sorry about your damn luck. So really good segment here, really good match. Way better than the Monsters Ball match, which wasn't that bad either. We get a video package now about Mike Tenay and Don West, which I was really happy to see. Really, really excited to see them dedicated an entire package here to Mike Tenay and Don West, the original announced team for TNA and long-term announced team for TNA. And there might be one of the most underrated announced team of all time. I'm probably not going to say that they were better than Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, but the fact that they're even in the same conversation when most people would never put them in the same conversation is just a crime. So shout out here, Don West. I'm also happy they did this because Don West is currently fighting for his life. Scott Demore has been doing a good job of putting out awareness. Jim Cornette on his podcast also putting out awareness. There is a fun GoFundMe for Don West in his fight with lymphoma. So Don West currently fighting for his life. Gave us a lot of great moments. They were the soundtrack of the original TNA, and just a really good video package of all the biggest TNA highlights, but it included all the commentary of Don West and Mike Tenay during those highlights. So almost brings a tear to my eye, legitimately, especially with the Don West fighting for his life currently. And the video ends with their voices will echo in our hearts forever. So very well done, very, very well put together. Glad to see it. Aiden English on commentary is pretty much tearing up as well. So Tom then mentions how you can donate to Don West. So unfortunately I don't remember, but just look up Don West, GoFundMe or lymphoma. And if you're even $5-10 can help out someone from the past that really doesn't get brought up very much. And Don West came into this company. He was only a guy that would be on like QVC. You would see Don West shilling, oh, you got to come get this is the rookie card from Shoeless Joe Jackson. You'll never find a price like this. This is the greatest deal you'll ever find. And Don West took that into a color commentator role in professional wrestling without really, I think you could tell he was a fan, but he didn't know the business from the inside, and really just took that as someone that was always excited in the product. Sure, he was over the top a lot, but really just brought a lot of passion to Mike Tenay is basically kind of your boring nerd that's going to say all the great facts. And this guy wrestled in Japan for 3 years and then moved to Mexico and was called El Hilo del Fantasma for 3 years, and now is in here after being in Lucha Underground and stuff like that. So really good partnership to put the dry Mike Tenay with the overexcited, over the top Don West. So I'm giving them some props here on the Slammiversary review, just like TNA Impact gave them their time. So we go from that is going to be the 10-man tag next. So I assume since this isn't even second to last match of the night, I assume that there will be no AJ Styles. Of course, AJ Styles was always a pipe dream as far as if WWE was going to send someone. Uh, you would get Bobby Roode before they send AJ Styles, since Bobby Roode never gets used on television. And we just saw AJ Styles have the match of the week in WWE against Seth Rollins just on Monday. And AJ has a big cut on his a bunch of stitches on his forehead currently as well. So AJ was probably never going to be in this match, and he wasn't in this match. But I was at least hoping for somebody good, and I was definitely disappointed in the mystery tag partner, but I'll get there in a second. Um, we get a video package explaining this whole long drawn out story of Honor No More coming in like NWO to invade Impact And the big story point was that Eddie Edwards, after being the heart and soul of TNA for so long, of Impact for so many years now, where I know Eddie Edwards has a lot of haters out there. I don't hate the guy, but he's not like my favorite either. But I do think a lot of people hate him for kind of no reason, in my opinion. Anyway, he turned his back on Impact, joined with the rest of Honor No More, which Eddie Edwards does have a long history in Ring of Honor, back in the day. So it kind of made sense there. Keep that in story point in mind when we do get to the mystery opponent or the mystery partner. After the video package, we see Christy Hemme, who we've not seen in a long time. Christy Hemme looking great, looks almost exactly like she used to. She did a lot of ring announcing well, remember, she was the first ever Diva Search winner in WWE. She had like 20 matches throughout a couple year span. Left WWE after going on Playboy cover and started out as a manager. Then they were going to have her wrestle, but she quickly transitioned into ring announcer role, a role that she would have in Impact Wrestling for a long time. So cool to see Christy Hemme do the ring announcing here. She introduces Scott D'Amore, another longtime TNA original, like I was explaining earlier. Brought so many people in through his training facility, such as the Motor City Machine Guns, Petey Williams, all of Team Canada, and many others. Like I think maybe Sanjay Dutt was part of that as well. So many unnamed here, but Scott D'Amore coming out to represent all of that and coming out to represent Team Canada. He comes out in the original Team Canada guitar riff of the Canadian National Anthem song. He's got the old Team Canada jumpsuit on, and as well as the Canadian flag on the hockey stick that he always carried out with Team Canada. So great to see him here. Um, Scott D'Amore was in TNA forever, but then he was gone for a long period of time. And I was actually at the Kevin Steen, now known as Kevin Owens. It was the Kevin Steen Ring of Honor farewell show here in Detroit, Michigan. And Scott D'Amore was there as just someone to see all his friends. Scott D'Amore from Windsor, just across the probably only a 20-minute drive for him to get there. And I actually got to shake Scott D'Amore's hand and tell him how much I just loved his work in TNA, and how I was actually at the very first ever TNA house show, which was also here in Detroit. Scott D'Amore was involved. I think it was a tag team match. It was Scott D'Amore and Petey Williams versus both members of ICP, which ICP is their hometown is Detroit. So, and there was a ton of juggalos at that show. Kind of unfortunately for me, I was more of an Eminem guy myself, but that match was pretty cool. Within that match, Scott D'Amore got like blinded at a point. I can't remember exactly why, but Scott D'Amore hit a picture perfect Canadian Destroyer onto his own partner, Petey Williams, in that match. I told Scott D'Amore at that farewell show for Kevin Steen at when I got to shake Scott D'Amore's hand, I told him, man, I love that you really hit a nasty Canadian Destroyer at that house show. And he laughed. And I told him, well, I hope to see you on Impact again, man, because you were always just a great part of the show. And he says, we'll never say never. And it wasn't that many much years, probably only a year or two later, Scott D'Amore was back heavily featured in Impact Wrestling. He's the on-screen authority figure now, and I'm pretty sure he does a lot of the things behind the scene as well for Anthem. So um, all in all, great to see Scott D'Amore, and the keep mental note of that hockey stick with the Canadian flag for later. But he comes down with the Team Canada gimmick. Great to see. Then Christy Hemme is going to introduce everyone in the match. So I was glad to see that. I thought maybe she might only introduce Scott D'Amore, but everyone in this 10-man match will be introduced by Christy Hemme. We've got all of Honor No More out next. So again, in this match for Honor No More, they won't have Kenny King, who is part of their stable, but he participated in the Ultimate X match earlier. But of course, he'll come out later on. I'll get there. But officially in this match is Eddie Edwards, the turncoat, the Benedict Arnold of TNA Wrestling, Vincent, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and PCO. And PCO has kind of been out on it, doing stuff out on his own, but I guess officially still an Honor No More member. He has his. If you don't know, this is one half of the Quebecers, one half of the amazing French Canadians, one half of the Mounties. PCO has been in wrestling for many, many years and is currently doing like a Frankenstein's monster gimmick where even in his music it's he's alive and stuff like that. So um uh, uh last we saw PCO was brought back to life yet again, this time by Vincent. So PCO kind of seemingly almost on his own thing, but seemingly also has Vincent is like Frankenstein and PCO's the monster right now. So anyway, we get a classic. If it wouldn't be TNA tribute show if we don't get a classic, super up close butt shot of Mike Bennett's wife Maria Kanellis, which I laughed out loud because it wouldn't be TNA without a classic butt shot. Just go look at any of those knockouts entrances, but especially the beautiful people. Special shout out to Cute Kip, who didn't make an appearance tonight, but we didn't get to see the other beautiful people members either. They are currently on NWA. I don't think NWA and Impact have the greatest of relationships, but there are some people that appear on both. Matt Cardona just comes to mind right off the bat as being someone who was NWA World Champion and well, maybe he lost the belt, but TNA or Impact Digital Media Champion at the exact same time. So it can happen. Anyway, going back to this match, we get Frankie Kazarian out first for the TNA Originals team. Huge cheers for Kazarian. We can see Kazarian on AEW mostly every week, whether it be on Dark, Dynamite, or Rampage. He was the Elite Hunter storyline. Another storyline where Frankie Kazarian can no longer ever wrestle as a tag team with long-term partner Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, who was another one. I don't think we got any video packages or an appearance by Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, which is a crying shame. As much as I love and would say AJ Styles is my favorite Impact wrestler of all time, Christopher Daniels is a very close second. So not enough love for the Fallen Angel, who had appeared in TNA not that long ago. It seems as though the partnership between AEW and TNA is pretty much over with now. Anyway, where was I? Frankie Kazarian out to the big cheers. He kisses his wife, former Knockout and TNA original Tracy Brooks. That's Frankie Kazarian's legitimate wife, and their child is there as well. We also see Earl Hebner in the crowd. Only 2 days after Earl Hebner's brother passed away, and Brian Hebner is actually the referee for this match. So another tribute to I can't remember that Hebner's name. I apologize. The one that just passed away, but part of that famous angle with the refs having plastic surgery and the screw job of Hulk Hogan losing the title to Andre the Giant and then the $1 Million Man. A storyline that played out on NBC and seen by probably 20 million people at least. So we're talking about in the history of wrestling, it doesn't matter what country or era, but probably one of the most watched angles played out on television in front of the largest audience in the history of our sport. And I'm not even being facetious with that. Brian Hebner's uncle, Earl Hebner's brother, and I can't believe I can't remember his name. Apologies for that, but we see all of them in the crowd, and all of these people will play a part in this match. So that's why we got to see them here. We get Nick Aldis out next. I'm pretty sure it's his NWA musics and not the old Magnus music. Not as big a cheers as the rest of them, which is unfortunate. Nick Aldis basically almost single-handedly resurrecting the NWA. Then we get so here comes one of the biggest moments of the night. One of the things that Impact was banking on the most for people buying this or being interested in the card was who's the mystery TNA original? Is it going to be AJ Styles? Is it going to be Samoa Joe? Even though like those two, for example, are both signed to different companies, there was legitimate reasons you could see them being an Impact tonight anyway. Like I said with AJ Styles, there was maybe a favor WWE had in the bank for when they allowed Mickey James to come out at the Royal Rumble with the Impact title and the Knockouts title, I mean, but they called it the Impact title instead of Knockouts. So even underhanded there by WWE. What would you expect? But one of the biggest moments here, who will it be? And while we're awaiting to see who it is, Dixie Carter's music hits of all people. Dixie Carter, one of the if you don't know the whole Dixie Carter story, she basically was TNA's owner or de facto owner for a long time. She had her parents or her father's Panda Energy was a corporation he owned, and they pumped a lot of money into the original TNA. So there might not be TNA like we saw it or still around today without Dixie Carter, but at the same time, she didn't do much for the business either. Um, my lasting image of Dixie Carter and some of the last that we saw her was she was literally being dragged by Hulk Hogan as Dixie Carter begged and pleaded for Hulk Hogan to stay and not leave. This is all playing out on there in front of everybody to see. You can go watch it on YouTube with her begging Hogan to stay as she clings and hugs onto his leg as Hogan drags her and walks off. That was the last time we saw Hulk Hogan. It wasn't much longer before we saw the end of Dixie Carter, and that can pretty much put her TNA run in a nutshell. So not excited to see her or hear her music here, but I guess if we're going TNA originals and stuff like that, well, she is one of them. But I'd much rather see Jeff Jarrett, who we did not see tonight. She basically did her best to kill TNA, and TNA survived despite Dixie Carter almost killing TNA. So, she's out here to introduce the mystery man. The mystery fifth man for the TNA originals is Eddie Edwards, former tag team partner in the American Wolves, Davey Richards. Oh man, was I disappointed. I much rather would have had like Shark Boy or almost anybody else than Davey Richards, but I guess this is probably Impact Wrestling's like fifth or sixth choice. Apparently, they weren't able to get anybody from WWE or AEW to show up, which kind of confirms in our mind what we thought is that the AEW and TNA partnership is almost at an end. Um, I say that while there is an AEW man in this match, Frankie Kazarian, but I guess that was enough. I don't know. Maybe there still is a partnership. Like I said, Frankie Kazarian is in this match, but no Fallen Angel, who's a high executive in AEW, no Samoa Joe. And then, of course, no AJ Styles, no Bobby Roode, Abyss, or Petey Williams, all members of the WWE roster. So, what are we left with? I guess we're left with Davey Richards. So, the reason I'm guessing they chose Davey Richards out of like maybe a Shark Boy or anybody like that is or I much rather would have had James Storm here, but I guess it was fine to have them in the tag titles situation. But Davey Richards is here because Eddie Edwards turned his back on Impact Wrestling. Last time we saw Davey Richards here, American Wolves had broken up in 2017, and Davey and Eddie had a long bloody feud after that point in time. So here we are. Nobody wanted it, but we're getting it. Complete letdown though on the huge reveal. But I write down here I could see Davey Richards turning on TNA. I don't think he really has much TNA love, so I could see Davey Richards siding with Eddie Edwards by the end of this match. So we'll see what happens. Um, and I also write down Nick Aldis would have been a much bigger surprise if they would have kept Aldis as the surprise here instead of announcing him on Impact last week. They could have announced Davey Richards on Impact last week, had everybody anticipating, ooh, we're going to get to see the Wolves collide, and we still get the mystery partner. Then the mystery partner being Nick Aldis here, makes sense because Nick Aldis was like the enforcer of Dixie Carter for a long time. So Dixie Carter having introducing Magnus, the former Magnus, now Nick Aldis makes sense. Plus, Nick Aldis, I think, has become much bigger star than Davey Richards since they both left. So, kind of disappointing there. Oh well, what are you gonna do? So here we go. It's the big 10-man tag. I'm not quite sure if it's elimination style, but I didn't think so. And in fact, it is one fall to a finish. So pretty crazy match here. I wrote down a lot, so bear with me on this one. But this is one of the biggest matches of the evening. Um, all the storylines pretty much were about this, and pretty sure it's one fall, like I said, and it is in fact one fall. So, um, this whole thing started when Frankie Kazarian and Chris Sabin had like a friendly rivalry, and Honor No More came out to ruin it. And many weeks later, we're here. It doesn't take long for Davey and Eddie both to get into the ring, but of course, um, Chicken S heel Eddie Edwards tags out immediately, and we see good teamwork shown by the TNA Originals after that point. Um, but Honor No More definitely not going down without a fight. But I'm definitely not invested in this match as much as I should be, or as much as TNA wants me to be. But probably a lot of that has to do with seeing Dixie Carter and Davey Richards as the surprises. So it probably that has to do with that more than anything. But I kind of get into the match as we go. Some big stuff happens. So PCO takes a nasty dive to the outside, but misses, but gets right up. So PCO is just an animal. Like he's like over 50 years old and just doing crazy things and just gets right back up from him. We get a pretty cool looking double slice bread #2 by Alex Shelley, who was isolated for a while. So Alex Shelley gets that huge move off, finally tags out. Kaz comes in with some hot tag fire, lots of fire, takes out everyone, hits that nasty spring move the rope so that the guy flies in and hits him with the cutter. That moves always looks good. Um, all this is in the ring now. If you haven't seen his work in NWA, definitely go check out NWA. Nick Aldis has definitely helped bring that promotion back into prominence almost single-handedly in the last 5 years. He's about to get his Kingsley Cloverleaf on PCO, but Honor No More comes to his rescue. We get a big schmaz with lots of moves now. It's just all kinds of chaos. 10 men just fighting everywhere. We get a lot of dives. Almost everyone dives to the outside. Now Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards are in the ring alone. The Wolves collide. We get an F 'em up Davey chant, so the crowd is firmly behind Davey Richards here. Maybe not overall a bad decision. It's just me personally. I don't even know if you guys remember D-Ray 3000, and pretty much a comedy joke X Division competitor from back in the day. But I would have marked out 10 times more for D-Ray 3000 than Davey Richards. But that's just me personally. Everything's to the eye of the beholder. Davey Richards has been on the independent scenes, grinding it out, as well as being like a paramedic um, in his off time. So um, I just was not invested in it. We get a dragon screw leg whip on the rope to Eddie. Um, Before that, we had dueling kicks, chops, but Davey got the advantage. But Dragon School to Eddie now. Davey gets a submission on Eddie and Taven both. So we get he already had Eddie in his submission. I wasn't quite sure what it was, especially once Taven then gets locked in it. But it was something to do with the legs. Everyone else on Honor No More then gets put in submissions, but even though PCO had both Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin putting a submission on him, PCO is able to overpower both of the X Division stars. Maria now gets involved, but Tracy Brooks hops the railing. Remember, I said they showed all those people over there for a reason before the match. So Maria gets involved. Tracy Brooks takes her out, but PCO grabs Tracy Brooks by the hair and pulls her in the ring. So then it looks like PCO is going to take out Tracy Brooks, but Cass is able to free Tracy and gets PCO up on the top rope. Flux capacitor, which I think is a modified Spanish fly. I haven't seen Kaz do it in a long time, and PCO's over 50 years old, takes the top rope Spanish fly flux capacitor completely all the way down his chest. PCO's just a freaking madman in the ring. I fear for his safety, but he seems to just get up from everything and not care. So who am I to tell someone to hang it up when they're just doing some of the best work of their career in their 50s? PCO takes all the way down his chest. But now we get Kenny King running down. Kenny King, the only member of Honor No More not in this match. Kenny King was in the X Division match, the Ultimate X match earlier. But of course, Kenny King down the run in. But D'Lo Brown in his Aces and Eights vest, which if you did not watch Impact, I don't recommend going to go see it. But Aces and Eights returned. It was Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff with the help of D'Lo Brown. Aces and Eights returned for one night only, I thought. But here we are, D'Lo Brown out again to help the TNA Originals. If you didn't know, D'Lo Brown was even back in TNA when it was a weekly show and it looked primed to maybe win the NWA Championship, which was the original world title in TNA before the TNA title and now the Impact title. But anyway, D'Lo Brown was forming a tag team with AJ Styles. If you notice, AJ Styles has a few of D'Lo Brown's moves in his repertoire. That goes all the way back to around like 2003, 2004. D'Lo Brown and AJ Styles forming a really, really good tag team. I don't think they ever got the titles, but maybe they got the titles for a brief period. But yeah, that didn't last too long. But D'Lo Brown never truly left TNA forever. He made multiple appearances after that point, and then now is part of the Office alongside Scott D'Amore. So anyway, D'Lo Brown runs out to even the odds with Kenny King running down. Gives Kenny King a low down and then a frog splash from the top. I forget what he calls that move. Sky High, maybe? No, Sky High was that. I think it's the sit down part. Anyway, Brian Hebner now goes down from a ref bump, which means Earl Hebner now jumps the railing. D'Lo Brown goes to the top rope to do that frog splash, but I forgot to mention this. He slipped on his first attempt, didn't completely fall on his ass. Caught himself on the apron. D'Lo jumps back up. Crowd doesn't give him too much crap about it because they were just so into this match. We get that frog splash to PCO. Triple super kick party, multiple super kicks by Motor City Machine Guns and Kaz to PCO. Like I said, Brian Hebner is down. Earl Hebner jumps over the railing. PCO has the rest of Honor No More come to his rescue, but TNA Originals all take them out. Hebner takes his shirt off to reveal a referee shirt and counts 3. A really cluster F of an ending, but overall not too bad. The initial shock of Davey Richards being the unwanted mystery man by the end was kind of out of the way. Really, there wasn't enough interaction between Davey and Eddie in this match. There was a little bit, but really not enough to warrant him being in this match unless that this is going to be a storyline going forward, which I really don't want Davey Richards back in TNA, so I hope that's not the case, but I'm assuming that's what we'll get going forward is maybe a little more storyline at least and a few more matches out of Davey Richards. But overall, kind of a waste to have him here. I don't think it pops not ratings, but it doesn't pop interest from the outside. The people that didn't watch Slammiversary are gonna at least want to know who the mystery guy was, and they're all just gonna laugh that it was Davey Richards and never think about Impact again until maybe Bound for Glory. So overall, if you're trying to make Impact a bigger thing, not a very good reveal there. You could have brought so many other people in and maybe given them a full-time run going forward. I don't know exactly who, but I don't know. He's been a problem guy, but a low key would have been a great addition to this match. I know he's had problems. Last time I saw him, he was fighting with the crowd instead of his match at over WrestleMania weekend. But like a low key would have been amazing here. Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels would have been perfect. So many other guys. Scott Steiner, even if he couldn't Foley wrestle would have been great here. So overall, not good on that because it's not going to bring more eyes. The ratings for Impact next week aren't going to be any better than they could have been. Uh, it's not like if you bring AJ Styles in, everybody knows AJ Styles can't stay, but at least they take Impact more serious at that point. And I'm sure they would have loved to have AJ Styles. It's probably WWE told them to F off. So now we get to do AJ Styles is a part of this pay-per-view, but in video package or in sent in video format. So just like Sting and just like Kurt Angle, we get AJ Styles here in a little video that he sent in from his home. AJ brings up all the many names and matches. I didn't list them off here, but um, just great stuff. Glad AJ was at least to be on this 20th anniversary show. Or it might be the 19th anniversary. You know how that goes, but maybe it's the 20th. I forget how the numbering scheme goes. WrestleMania got me all thrown off when they said, "Oh, it's the 20th anniversary." Anyway, um, AJ says he'll never forget any of those great memories. Like it was great to have AJ here. But the best memory AJ says is the triple threat match, Unbreakable, with Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels, one of my favorite matches of all time. All these Spot Fest and Young Buck matches I watch nowadays just remind me of the Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels match I watched that many years later. People like Jim Cornette like hate these style of matches, but I think there's definitely a place on the card. Every single card can have a few matches like this. I'm the kind of guy that wants a variety. I want all kinds of matches. I'm okay with a comedy match as long as there's a serious match right behind it, and then maybe a high flying match after that. Women's matches, all different styles of women's matches as well. Tag team, hardcore, um, all kinds of variety is a good thing. I like a variety show. I don't particularly like a whole show where it's 3 hours of no selling high spots and nobody sells a thing and all the moves blend into each other and at the end of the day nothing really mattered. So really, um, no more than two of these matches on a big card at night. We got to see the Ultimate X match earlier, kind of deal. And then that 10-man tag had a lot of the X Division people, original X Division people in it, and they kind of had that kind of match too. But overall, not too much. And again, AJ's still talking here. Like I said, he said his best memories that triple threat match with Joe and Daniels, and he says, "How phenomenal would I be without Impact?" And he thanks WWE for letting him talk. So WWE must have agreed to let AJ talk here, but only if he can name drop WWE and thank them for being so generous and so gracious. Thank you, WWE. You're just the swell jam up guys. So big cheers for AJ here. Glad to see him here, regardless of me joking around about it or anything else. Um, it would have seemed like no AJ tonight would have made it even worse. Especially since we weren't getting Christopher Daniels, Mojo, Jeff Jarrett, all the others. But having AJ there, like I said, I fell in love with this promotion in early 2004 because of AJ Styles, someone I had never heard of before that random weekly pay per view I bought for $9 when I was a senior in high school. And having AJ in WWE all these years now, my thoughts on that, if you were wondering, it's okay. Like, for instance, Dixie Carter did AJ Styles wrong, so why would AJ Styles stay in TNA? Dixie drove AJ Styles off, literally, like in her multiple attempts to kill this company. But AJ went on to take over Bullet Club from Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt at the time, and the rest is history. He had an amazing Wrestle Kingdom match against Shinsuke Nakamura. If you're an AJ Styles TNA fan and you've never seen that Wrestle Kingdom match against Shinsuke Nakamura, do yourself a favor and go and find it. I'm sure you can find it for free on the internet somewhere by now. But NJPW is only $9 a month, and you can watch all the current and past events on there. So Now we got a video package. It'll be next is going to be the first ever Queen of the Mountain match. Again, going back to that Slammiversary in 2009 that I saw. I've actually witnessed a King of the Mountain match live and in person, and it was pretty cool. Um, that was the one where Samoa Joe turned heel and joined the main event Mafia, helping Kurt Angle to win that match. In a kind of a shocking turn of events, Samoa Joe was way over in that match. Kurt Angle came out in a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. Um, Currently, the Red Wings had been feuding and had just lost in the Stanley Cup Finals to the Penguins. So Samoa Joe comes out with the Detroit Red Wings jersey, and we were all cheering him on, hoping he wins that match. And he just goes and hands the title to Kurt at the end. Uh, so, first of all, the um, I'll explain the rules of a King of the Mountain match, or this is the first ever Queen of the Mountain match. So again, silly rules here, but once you've seen multiple of these, like I have in a row, or not in a row, but like in your lifetime, you understand the rules, and it's a nice alternative to a regular ladder match. I will say that. So the rules are, instead of getting the title from the top with a ladder, you have to hang the title up. So again, kind of like the reverse battle royal, like we saw earlier. It's them trying to reinvent the wheel just by putting it in reverse. But there's a couple of added rules to this match that do make it a little bit more than, instead of grabbing the title, you have to hang it. So first of all, like I said, ultimately, to win this match, you have to hang the title up, and you have to get a ladder to be able to reach the spot to hang the title up. But first of all, to even be eligible to hang the title up, you must have either a pinfall or a submission under your belt. So every single one of these are always multi-person matches, and for you to be eligible to win, you have to get a pin or submission. So once you get a pin or submission, it's then announced that so and so is eligible to hang the title. So now you can hang the title and win. If you hang the title without getting a pin or submission, the match does not end. So here's the other part of the rule that makes it really fun is when you do get pinned or submitted, you can be pinned or submitted multiple times, but when that does happen, you have to go into a shark cage they call the penalty box. So you get locked into a little mini cage and for 2 minutes. So every time you pin or submit, you have to go in the shark cage for 2 minutes. And there can be multiple people in the shark cage. For instance, if I pin this person and before the 2 minutes is up, I submit another person, they can both be in the shark cage, but they both have, um, whenever their 2 minutes is up, they get to come out. So that's basically all the rules in a nutshell. So it's a reverse ladder match where you have to be eligible to hang it up by either pin or submission. And when you do get pinned or submitted, you have to spend 2 minutes locked in a cage. All right. So we were already told beforehand Mickey James is going to be the special enforcer. So basically, the one in charge of getting people locked up, and maybe there might be extra things you might have to do if two people are locked up and they both try to escape, even though the other one had to wait another 45 seconds. So always good to have a special enforcer for these type of matches. First out, former champion Deonna Perazo. She's been doing some great work over the last couple years. And I noticed at this time they definitely seem to be rushing this match, which pisses me off. It doesn't matter what company, it doesn't matter how big or small the card is. If any segments ever run long, the women's match is going to be the one that gets cut time out of. And I c- now I forgot I had wrote this down, but now that I'm going through my notes, it was definitely like the entrances were rushed. It seemed like the announcers were even talking extra fast because now they knew that the entrances were going to be rushed and everything was going to be rushed about this Queen of the Mountain match because we must have went overtime on other matches before this. And again, always it's the women's match that gets cut. Um, can you just make it a little bit more even, people? Like, come on. Anyway, um, the match does kind of not prematurely end, but it kind of ends a little bit quicker. So a rushed entrance here for the first ever Queen of the Mountain, and a little bit of rushed finished. Overall bad. Like, you could have just cut out 2 minutes from the main event if you had to. Like, the main event had a pretty good length. Losing 2 minutes or 3 minutes from the main event so that this entire Queen of the Mountain first ever match didn't have to be rushed would have been my ideal. And I think they finished, I think that it started at 8 p.m. Eastern time and ended at like 10:53, 10:54 Eastern time. So there was about 5 minutes of wiggle room that they could have added on to this match. So anyway, all that aside, it ended up being a pretty good match. First ever Queen of the Mountain match. And um Chelsea Green is the second one out. Like I said, Deonna Perazo was the first one out. Chelsea Green and Deonna Perazo have formed a little bit of alliance, being two heels. But of course, they've already mentioned that it's every woman for themselves. But I'm sure we'll see them team up at some point, and I'm sure we'll also see some kind of tension as well. Jordan Grace is now out third. She's definitely in the best shape of her life. Big mommy muscle herself, just looking thick with her muscles and looks like a champion. Um, Definitely, I was either picking either Jordan Grace or Mia Yim to win this match. If you didn't know, Mia Yim has joined TNA Impact recently, and Mia Yim's out next, and with her amazing entrance. But even the amazing entrance was super freaking short. Like, it was shorter than we see Mia Yim's entrance on Impact, and this is a big Slammiversary title match. So again, how do you end 7 minutes early and still make this women's match rushed? Inexcusable. Really, really is, because one of the things I was looking forward to all night was Mia Yim's entrance and how it might even be better than usual Impact. But nope, we got a super rushed entrance. If you didn't know, Mia Yim's entrance is like, if you remember those guys with the masks that dance like they had at the NBA All-Star game where Shaq was doing the dancing and stuff. She's got like kittens and other masks of people dancing with her. Definitely embracing like her gamer girl side that she's been doing with all her Twitch stuff and stuff like that. But again, rush. So just putting a bad taste in my mouth overall. But like I said, Mia Yim and Jordan Grace are definitely my favorites to win. If you missed Impact last week, Mia Yim and Jordan Grace did team up to fight against the Knockouts champion Tasha Steele and her bodyguard slash heavy Savannah Evans. There was a little bit of miscommunication in that match where Mia Yim hit Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace got pinned off of that miscommunication. So they were kind of forming an alliance, but it's already tension in there. So a couple of alliances and going into this match, both featuring tension. And then of course Tasha Steeles is the champion. She's out last, and she's also got an alliance, but this alliance is deeper than the others, as in Savannah Evans has been with Tasha Steeles for months now as her bodyguard, and Savannah Evans isn't even in the match. So this match is no disqualification. So Savannah Evans theoretically can do whatever she wants to help Tasha Steeles, the champion, retain. So multiple, which is probably the reason we're getting the Mia Yim, Jordan Grace alliance and the Deonna Perazo, um, Chelsea Green alliance, because they recognize that Tasha Steeles is going to have Savannah Evans to help her all match. Spoiler alert, Savannah Evans doesn't do much, and it's really stupid that she doesn't do much, but I'll get into that. So Tasha Steeles comes out. If you guys don't know, the former Fire and Flava teammate of Kiera Hogan, many people might have thought of Tasha Steeles as the Marty Jannetty to Kiera Hogan's Shawn Michaels. Now we've seen Kiera Hogan go off to AEW as part of the Baddies, seemingly forming a new tag team with Red Velvet now as Jade Cargill's heavies slash bodyguards slash whatever you want to call them. Human meat shields, basically, for lack of better terms. But Tasha Steeles has been completely motivated ever since then to prove that she is not the Marty Jannetty of Fire and Flava, and Tasha Steelz won the very first ever women's edition of the Ultimate X match. So another pioneer of the women's division, like Gail Kim and Awesome Kong and a lot of the others before her, Roxy Laveau, Tracy Brooks, Trinity. A lot of people forget Trinity was wrestling the men long before Tessa Blanchard was in Impact. But yeah, Tasha Steelz is out with a cowgirl outfit, seemingly to taunt Mickie James, who it kind of seems like Mickie James wants the winner of this match. So Mickie James has not retired. She's gonna be the special enforcer, even though she might be biased and she wants to be the next challenger. So a little awkward to have Mickie James be the special enforcer, in my opinion. And we'll see how that plays out as we go here. That already backs up what I was feeling. So Tasha has Savannah Evans with her, of course, and the match is no DQ, so I expect a lot of Savannah Evans interference in this match. Tasha's been impressing everyone, not everyone, but Tasha's been impressing me big time ever since she won the Ultimate X, and they've made her a star, and now she's won the title, and I think she's been a really good champion overall. So, give me 1 second. I lost my spot. But yeah, overall, I did not like how they were rushing all the women along. Not needed whatsoever. And Tasha showed everyone that she's not going to be the Janetti I write down here. Really good start to this match. Deonna yells at the crowd 3 effing times. I'm not even quite sure what she's talking about, but pretty hilarious to hear Deonna yell that, and her voice cracked like Brock Lesnar when Brock Lesnar yells, which was pretty funny. Chelsea then gets a quick pin after doing a dive to everyone on the outside. Chelsea Green, if you don't know, the girlfriend of Matt Cardona and formerly in Impact as Laurel Van Ness. And I don't think they've ever said that Chelsea Green is Laurel Van Ness. So I think they're kinetic storyline wise, like two separate characters. But while Chelsea Green is now turned into like this menacing heel, like crazy person who basically is like acting exactly like Laurel Van Ness or Laurel Van Ness Mess, as we call her. If you remember, she was out with like her lipstick all over her and she got dumped at the altar by Brandon Sutter of all people. But Chelsea Green is basically morphed back into Laurel Van Ness at this point. If you were around for all of that, which necessarily is not a good thing, let me tell you. So, like I said, Deonna Perazo yells at the crowd 3 effing times. I'm not quite sure why, but that was pretty funny. Chelsea gets a quick pin on the champ after diving on everyone. So Tasha Steelz, like, keep that in note, got pinned really easily. Didn't even look like she kicked out of it. And I'll explain this a little bit later, what I think about that. But Chelsea Green has become the first person eligible to now, if she's able to take the title and climb the ladder and hang it up, she will become the champion. So she's the first one eligible. Tasha Steelz, by proxy of being pinned here, will now have to enter the penalty box for 2 minutes. And like I said, Mickie James is the special enforcer to make sure the penalty box stuff goes smoothly. So we see why right off the bat, because Tasha Steelz does not want to go in the penalty box. Mickie James throws Tasha Steelz in forcefully into the penalty box, which pisses off Savannah Evans. And Savannah Evans gets forcefully entered into the shark cage penalty box. So both Tasha Steelz and her bodyguard Savannah Evans locked in the cage. The match is basically just started a few minutes ago. Chelsea Green's the first one to become eligible to hang the title and win. And we get a countdown clock in the bottom right corner. So we'll get a countdown clock for the 2 minutes each time someone goes into the penalty box, so we don't forget. Now we get Mia Yim and Jordan Grace teaming up. Like I mentioned, they have been forming an alliance recently, and probably because of the fact that Evans is going to be with Tasha Steelz, they know they need more than one person each. So Deonna Perazo and Chelsea Green have formed an alliance. Mia Yim and Jordan Grace have formed an alliance because of this. Mia Yim then hits Jordan, or I note here that Mia Yim hit Jordan in that tag match, so there's definitely tension here. Their alliance almost breakdowns, so we see Mia Yim and Jordan Grace team up, but within a minute, maybe even 30 seconds, their alliance seemingly almost breaks down. But before they can argue anymore, they continue to double team. So good stuff there, storytelling wise. Savannah Evans then gets out, as well as so they open the cage at this point. Tasha Steelz gets out, Savannah Evans gets out with her. Savannah Evans just jumps right into the ring like as if she's in the match at this point. She's probably pissed off that Mickie James threw her in the cage as well. That was probably okay, so that explains why Mickie James threw Savannah Evans in the match. It clearly looked like Tasha Steelz had no qualms about entering the penalty box. Once you're in the penalty box, you cannot be hurt. So what Tasha Steelz mind is, okay, I'll quickly go in the penalty box where I don't get hurt while the others wrestle. And while the others wrestle, I also have my bodyguard to make sure that nobody wins while I'm in the penalty box. But Mickie James caught on right away, threw Savannah Evans in the penalty box with her. Now that Evans and Tasha are out, Evans immediately jumps in the ring as if she's just going to take part in this match. So pretty good storytelling all around. If you didn't catch all of that, great stuff. Really I love when they strategize matches like this, and the heels doing stuff, anything to win. Like, it's not even against the rules per se, because there are no rules other than like the penalty box stuff. But Mickie James making sure that just going above and beyond, like, to make sure Tasha doesn't win by putting Evans in there. So um Evans, like I said, gets out, joins the match, but Mickie James just gets in the ring after her and yells in Savannah Evans' face to leave. And oddly enough, Savannah Evans just leaves, and I'm not quite sure why. Because, like I said, it was no DQ. Like, what was Mickie James gonna do? I guess in Savannah Evans's mind, she thought she was gonna have to fight Mickie James, and then Mickie James was gonna fight Tasha Steelz later. So maybe cut my losses and make sure the official isn't against my client, which you'll see later backfires. So that wasn't even a good reason to leave. So absolutely no reason for Savannah Evans to leave here, and it made her look stupid. Um, Mia Yim now gets a German suplex with a bridge to Chelsea Green for a 1-2-3. So Chelsea Green, the second one to enter the penalty box. If you remember, Chelsea Green was the only one eligible before this. So now Chelsea Green and Mia Yim are the two eligible to win. Chelsea goes in the cage for 2 minutes, but on Chelsea Green's way to go into the penalty box, she knocks out Mickie James with a punch, which I thought meant we were gonna see Savannah Evans immediately come back out now that Mickie James got knocked down. But I'm pretty sure, I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure we never see Savannah Evans again in this match, which makes everything weirder. Let me grab another drink. I didn't know I was gonna go this long on the Slammiversary pay-per-view, but I'm glad I am. You're probably not going to get this big of analysis anywhere else on the internet from someone that was there almost from the very beginning. And even though I wasn't there from the very beginning, I have gone back and watched the original weekly episodes that I missed. I've also gone back and watched some of the stupid Hogan era stuff that I voluntarily missed. All right, sorry about that break, but we are over the 2-hour mark now. Needed a new cold beverage. So, like I said, Mia Yim and Chelsea Green are now eligible. Chelsea Green goes into the cage for 2 minutes, but knocks out Mickie James on her way in. So, at this point, we see Tasha Steelz jump off of. So, really cool spot. I'm going to have to explain it because it's hard to put in the words. But Jordan Grace is with Tasha Steelz on the ropes in the corner in the turnbuckles. So, Tasha Steelz counters Jordan Grace's attempt for maybe like a suplex off the middle rope or something. So Jordan Grace is standing on the middle rope with her back and head arched so that she's bending over and their heads like facing the ring post. So Tasha Steelz stands on Jordan Grace's back and uses it as a springboard to then jump onto a ladder that Mia Yim is on. If you remember, Mia Yim is the only one eligible that's not in the penalty box right now. So Mia Yim was climbing the ladder with the title to go hang it up. Tasha Steelz counters Jordan Grace on the top rope, jumps off her back off the middle rope, and then does a fluid looking like springboard off of Jordan Grace's back onto a ladder. Mia Yim, who's on a ladder, onto an cutter slash stunner. They called it a cutter, but it looked like a stunner on the mat. So really hard to explain. Really cool move. Go look that one up. Props to everyone involved for Jordan Grace to having the strength for her to be a springboard platform. The Tasha Steelz pulling off the move and having the guts to actually do it. To Mia Yim making the move look good off of the ladder. So everything about that move was awesome. Way better than like the 6-man tower spot we got earlier. Which if you've seen like one 6-man tower spot, you've seen them all basically. Sorry, I just wrote so much for this match that I keep losing my spot. But that move was just like definitely one of the moves of the night. Chelsea then stares into there. Apparently, there's a camera inside of the shark cage penalty box, and Chelsea Green's doing some character work, staring into it creepily. And this is where I wrote down that she's basically morphed back into Laurel Van Ness, which is kind of funny because I'm pretty sure they've never said that those two characters are the same person. Like if TNA were to release a book, a picture book of all the wrestlers ever, there would be a separate page for Laurel Van Ness and a separate page for Chelsea Green. I'm pretty sure they're two separate characters, but man, Chelsea Green is just morphed into Laurel Van Ness now. And it's not a good thing because it was pretty much always a cringe gimmick to begin with. Anyway, well, they had to do something with her because now she doesn't even have Matt Cardona to work off of. But yeah, this match was crazy. One of the spots of the night was that um Tasha Steelz jumping off of Jordan Grace's back onto Mia Yim, who's on the ladder, into a stunner on the mat, all in one fluid motion. So make sure you go find that and watch that. Chelsea stares in the camera. That made me laugh. Tasha taps on an armbar now. So even though I've explained a lot, we're still not that long into this match. It's just everything's happening all at once. So Tasha Steelz for the second time goes into the penalty box. And this goes back to, it looks like that's Tasha's strategy in this match is early on she doesn't care that she assumes that, well, here's if this was a real fight and you wanted to look at it, there's two options here for the heel. One, I can fight fair and like square and like try and fight fist with everybody and face to face with everybody, and maybe eventually everybody's going to become eligible and everybody's going to be worn out. Or I can sacrifice, okay, now they become eligible and I have to go in the penalty box. But if I do it early enough, I don't think that they're going to win the match. And in the meantime, I get to spend now. This will be 4 whole minutes where Tasha doesn't get hurt at all. She's in a penalty box in a shark cage alone. So it is really, really good psychologically smart here by the heel to think this. And like I said, her whole plan was also going to involve her bodyguard, Savannah Evans, while she was in the shark cage. Savannah Evans was going to make sure nobody that Tasha just made eligible wins while she's in the shark cage. But like I said, Mickey James chased off Savannah Evans. I'm not quite sure why Savannah Evans left. But anyway, still, Tasha, even with Savannah Evans, thinks she's going to play the strategy game. She's going to go rest for 2 minutes and not get hurt whatsoever in a 2-minute span and sacrifice and hope that she doesn't lose in that 2 minutes. So really good stuff here. A lot of good. Somebody thought whoever put this match together really thought it through like I would, or like a Jim Cornette would. Not to compare myself with Jim Cornette, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, Tasha just taps to an armbar. Deonna Perazo was the one that tapped her out. So now Deonna, Mia Yim, and Chelsea are the 3 eligible to win. Tasha's in the penalty box for another 2 minutes. And I think that's really smart. Chelsea's making really weird faces again. So just a lot of character work from Chelsea here. Basically, she's Laurel Van Ness again. Tasha goes face first into the ladder as soon as she gets out of the so all that 2 minutes of not getting hurt just to immediately get one of the biggest um hits of the entire night, running face first into a ladder. This sets off a chain reaction of events where a ton of big spots and big hits into the ladder. I should have mentioned the ladders like straddled on the ropes on like an angle, so that's kind of where everybody's getting crashed into it. But then out of nowhere, um, Mia Yim's on top of the shark cage and does a drop kick to Chelsea Green onto the ladder that's on the rope. So we get a bunch of HBIC, which chants from the crowd, head bitch in charge. If you don't know what that stands for, that's like her gimmick. Then again, out of nowhere, just after the first out of nowhere by Mia Yim, out of nowhere, Mia Yim on that angled ladder on the ropes does the classic Shelton Benjamin running up the ladder while it's on its side to a dive to the outside. And if you guys don't know Mia Yim, she's got this like she seems to be like best friends with Shelton Benjamin, but the kind of best friends where they're always picking on each other. So Mia Yim does her best friend who she picks on all the time, Shelton Benjamin's run up the ladder move, immediately looks into the camera and says, "I did it better than you." So if you didn't know Mia Yim's real life story about how she always picks on Shelton Benjamin and vice versa, you wouldn't have popped on that. But man, that was one of my biggest laughs of the entire night. And not to mention, wow, Mia Yim really showing off some athleticism by pulling off that move. Again, one of the spots of the night. So this match is really hitting, despite them not giving it, making it rushed. But it is just carnage, it's chaos. So Mia Yim does that. Everybody's going crazy in the crowd now. Like I said, Mia Yim yells, "I did it better, Shelton." I don't know if she said Shelton, but she did say, "I did it better," and I knew it exactly what she was talking about. Grace now has to go to the penalty box. I kind of miss why, but Jordan Grace can barely stand as she's put in the penalty box. She's like laying inside of it. So now the eligibles, some whoever pinned her or submitted her was one of the three already eligible. So we're still at Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, and Deonna Perazo as the three eligible to climb the ladder and hang the title up to win. Chelsea Green now climbs the ladder, but out of nowhere, like not out of nowhere, but inexplicably, Mickie James, the special enforcer, um, pulls Chelsea Green off the ladder. So Chelsea Green making sure Tasha steals and Chelsea Green doesn't win, which that's not very face-like behavior. So maybe we're getting a heel turn coming up from Mickie James, or maybe this is just the old, well, the face can do whatever they want because they're the face. Well, explain that to me why. But I'm sure we'll never get the explanation. But I didn't like that whatsoever. Between that and making Savannah Evans run away for like almost no reason, kind of took me a little bit out of the match, a little bit. But so many high spots in this match. Still a really good match. A lot of props to the women. We didn't even get to the highest spot yet, so it gets even crazier. So like I said, Chelsea Green looked to be almost about to win. Mickie James makes sure she doesn't, and Mickie James looks like a heel. Mia Yim takes another nasty bump onto the ladder. Mia Yim looks a little bit of hurt off of that one. That one looked nasty. Deonna Perazo and Tasha Steelz now hit into the ladder. More ladder shots. Chelsea and Deonna now climb the ladder at the exact same time. So just like they've been explaining on the Impact television show the last couple of weeks, Chelsea and Deonna can form an alliance all they want, but they've always known that at the end of the day, only one can win. So here we are. Everybody else is down or in the cage. Chelsea and Deonna climbing the ladder at the same time. And I did not expect this because I expected them to start punching each other and stuff. But nope, Mia Yim's back. She pushes both of them out. I didn't even know that there was a old school Bubba Ray in the original TLC match. And we just also saw it on AEW this last week with Luchasaurus. But the 4 tables set up 2-on-2. Whew, nasty. They were, mind you, this wasn't a normal ladder. This was one of those giant Jeff Hardy ladders that Deonna and Chelsea were on. And they go flying from the giant, like, I don't know, 10-foot ladder in the ring all the way to the outside in the old school Bubba Ray table bump, and they missed the barricade with their heads at very high speed by only maybe a foot, 2 feet at the most, but it was too close for comfort. I did not enjoy the spot. This was one of those spots that just made me like, oh my God, are they dead? I think they might be dead. Or if it was just a little bit off, they would have hit their head on the barricade and it would have been even worse. But holy crap, in a match full of high spots, this was the highest spot, and it was at the climax towards the end. So let's take stock. We've got Deonna Perazo and Chelsea Green dead on the outside. Jordan Grace, last I think we saw her, was completely passed out inside of the cage. But she's either almost on her way out of the cage or has already gotten out, but now is laying down. We're not quite sure. We lost track of that with all the madness. So after that huge table spot, super nasty table spot, Mia Yim double pinned by Jordan Grace and Tasha Steelz. So Mia Yim gets pinned by both of them somehow. So we're really exaggerating this ending here. We've got Mia Yim now going into the penalty box. Jordan Grace and Tasha Steelz were not eligible until this very moment, where somehow and some reason the referee says both Jordan Grace and Tasha Steelz, you pinned Mia Yim. Mia Yim goes to the penalty box. Chelsea Green and Deonna Perazo are completely out of it on the outside. And probably going to feel that for an entire week. That looked nasty. But we've got Jordan Grace and Tasha Steelz, the only two remaining possible, at least for 2 minutes until Mia Yim comes out. Chelsea Green and Deonna are knocked out, like I said. And Jordan pins Tasha Steelz at this point with a big power move. So Tasha Steelz goes into the penalty box. Jordan Grace is literally on her own, just casually climbs the ladder, hangs the title for the victory. I enjoy this decision. Jordan Grace is the right decision. She's been with Impact Wrestling for a long time now. I don't think she's ever been truly given the respect she deserves. Maybe she's not your cup of tea as far as looks wise or wrestling wise, but I think she brings a lot of power moves, a lot of good wrestling, and her look, in my opinion, is amazing. She looks like she could legitimately beat up almost anyone in the world, especially in the women's division. So good decision in my opinion to give Jordan Grace the title here. And a little bit of a super crazy ending, slightly weird with like the double pin stuff, and it was weird with Mickey James kicking out. Like, why did Savannah Evans never come back? Why did Mickey James stop Chelsea Green from winning? That's something a heel would do. So a lot of weird things, a lot of high spots. Good match overall. A ton to talk about. That was probably the match I took the most amount of the notes with, other than the main event. Stick around for the main event coming up. A lot of notes in that one as well. You'll see why when I get there. I'll let you know why early on too. But anyway, since the entire premise of this Queen of the Mountain / King of the Mountain match is weird to begin with, I'm fine with all the weird, wacky stuff we got in the middle of it, because it's a weird match to begin with. And congratulations to Jordan Grace, well deserved. She's been working hard. She's completely transformed her body type with hard work, and gotten better in the ring as well. So we go to the back now, and before our main event, we get Goldilocks, the original backstage interviewer. Goldilocks is back there. Goldilocks always had a really good personality in the original TNA weekly shows. She had to put up with a lot of crap, and it was before the Me Too, way before the Me Too era. So she not only got to put up with crap with the wrestlers on air, but I'm sure off the air as well. Not to bring it down, but you know that kind of stuff was prevalent. So Goldilocks, great to see her here. Although she looked good, but if I passed her down the street, I would have never recognized that was Goldilocks. And I know Goldilocks well from the original TNA. So she was basically gone from the company by the time TNA went to Fox Sports Network. So she's an original that never returned. So great to see her. I think this is the first time we've seen her since like 2004, but she was there every single week when it was the weekly pay-per-views. And again, you can go on Impact Plus. It's not very expensive for a monthly. They might even have a trial where you can go back and watch some of these original monthly episodes just to get a little bit of flair. If you don't want to get in Impact Plus, I suggest going over to the YouTube channel Marky D123. He is very he's been a fan as long as I have, and he has so many great videos about Impact, including from the very beginning until he just put out a video a couple weeks ago going through all the weekly reviews of all the weekly original impacts, or the TNAs, I mean. So definitely go look that up. Good to see Goldilocks here. She's here to interview Gail Kim. Gail Kim is basically the godmother of the TNA women's division, the knockout division. Too bad that Awesome Kong couldn't be here with her. It was basically Awesome Kong and Gail Kim's rivalry that some might say started the women's revolution, as far as they were actually having real matches on USA television before anyone else. So there's definitely a claim that they were the original start of the women's revolution. So good to have Gail Kim here. We see Gail Kim quite often on Impact. She's an official with Impact, but still great to see her. Gail says she's proud as hell and looks forward to the next 20 years. So the second time, I think it was AJ or someone else maybe might have said another 20 years, which whew, that would be amazing. But I like I said, we all thought TNA was on its deathbed at least 5 times, maybe even up to 7 or 8 times, and it's still here 20 years later. But like I said, wish Awesome Kong was here, but still great to see Gail Kim. They tell us our next event is Against All Odds, and that'll be July 1st on Impact Plus. And then the next pay-per-view event, Bound for Glory, will be in October, and they play an ad for that. Bound for Glory, basically the WrestleMania of Impact, while Slammiversary is like the SummerSlam, if you will. We get the same video package that we got in the pre-show, where it shows Josh Alexander should absolutely not be talking at all ever on TV, and he should have a manager or be silent. Nothing against his in-ring ability, but his promos suck. But I am looking forward to this match. Our main event is Josh Alexander, the Impact champion, versus Eric Young, the TNA original. Eric Young has been back in Impact ever since Sanity for a while. He basically has a new Sanity stable called Violence by Design. They have Joe Doring, the modern age Stan Larry Hansen comes in from All Japan Pro Wrestling with a big, mean cowboy look. And they've also got Cody Deaner, of all people, from the original love interest of ODB back in the day, which I can't believe Cody Deaner is still here. But nothing against Cody Deaner. He's been doing good work. Anyway, that video package plays that we already saw in the pre-show. And before I get into this match, let me just outright say it right now. This is a complete tribute match to the history of TNA. There's so many like finishers and huge maneuvers from people from TNA past within this match. So the entire story of this match is just a celebration of TNA and Impact as a whole for 20 years, which I really enjoyed. I loved. I would much rather that than just a regular serious match. They kept it serious at the same time. This was a really good match because of it. I mean, you got to see all the best moves in TNA history, basically. Everybody's great finishers, from Jeff Jarrett to AJ Styles to Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels, and just all kinds of other like great spots and moments. So the announcers, Tom and Aiden English, gave us a great rundown of anytime anything happens, they'll be like, oh, that was the BME from Christopher Daniels. Oh, that's the Uranagi that Samoa Joe does. So even if you're not a long-term TNA fan or Impact fan, you know what's going on here, and I hope you can appreciate it for what it is. It ended up being a great match because of it. I think a better match than if they wouldn't have done it, as in just wrestling a regular match with their own moveset. So kind of a silly premise as far as this is a TNA tribute match, but this is a whole TNA tribute pay-per-view to begin with. So Tom tells us that Josh Alexander is undefeated at Slammiversary on his way out. Eric Young's out, flanked by both Violence by Design members, Joe Doring and Cody Deaner. We see Josh Alexander's wife and child are in the crowd. They've been a big part of Josh Alexander's story. If you haven't been following Impact, Josh Alexander first won the Impact. Well, originally Josh Alexander was part of one of the greatest TNA tag teams and almost a rebirth of Team Canada called the North. And if you guys are AEW fans, Josh Alexander's tag team partner was Ethan Page. Ethan Page went to AEW. Josh Alexander went on a singles run, won the Impact title from Moose. But while he was celebrating in the ring, or maybe it wasn't from Moose, but Moose had like the Money in the Bank equivalent. So as Josh Alexander was celebrating in the ring with his wife and child in the ring at the time, Moose comes down and spears Josh Alexander mere inches away from like his wife and child, cashes in his Money in the Bank contract or whatever the equivalent was, and to win the title from Josh Alexander mere minutes after winning it. And Josh Alexander was more mad about the fact that his little child might have been injured by Moose's spear, which again was pretty close to the child. So they played that story pretty good. So we just came out of the story of Josh Alexander. It looked like at a while that Josh Alexander wasn't going to be re-signed by Impact. That whole storyline was kind of weird, but Josh Alexander even spent like a month away from Impact and came back after a while, month or two, and now wanted the title back. So we just got done with that whole story. Josh Alexander now is going to fight Eric Young, the TNA original, at the 20th anniversary of Impact Wrestling for the title. And the storyline coming into it wasn't that great. And the promos that they've had Josh Alexander do, I mean, I'm not that great of a talker. I stumble over some of my words sometimes, but man, like I could be a better mouthpiece for Josh Alexander. Like I couldn't ever do anything in the ring that Josh Alexander could do, but I could give you a way better promo than Josh Alexander. You're supposed to hide the weaknesses and accentuate what they're good at in wrestling. So way too much talking from Josh Alexander since he's been champion and really not making me like him. But I knew this was going to be a great match. EY can go, Eric Young can go, always can go. He gets a bad rap from a lot of people who underrate his ability in the ring. Maybe they just saw him as scared Eric Young and think he's a comedy wrestler and stuff, and super Eric this and scared of his own pyro that. And now you're just a maniac yelling guy. But Eric Young can absolutely go in the ring, and we know Josh Alexander can go as bad as his promos are. He's just as good in the ring. So again, Josh Alexander's wife and child are in the crowd. So I wonder if that'll have anything to do with it, since the whole story of Josh Alexander has been his wife and child. So it's good to have them there. But like I said, this is an entire match built around the premise of being a tribute to TNA. Tons of finishers and stuff we've seen in the past. So let's get into it now. We start the match out with some grappling, which was weird to see on this card, and it reminded me, I don't think we've seen any grappling or like amateur style or old school wrestling in this entire card up until this very moment. So that's a little weird. I definitely would have enjoyed maybe one more amateur slash grappling style match on this card. But overall, I mean, I give this card a thumbs up. I mean, I had so much fun, but I am a TNA mark, and I've always loved the TNA product. So this was specifically catered to me and people like me. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And even if you're, like I said, even if you're new to Impact, the announcers did a great job of explaining every time they did a move. So um like I said, we start out with grappling that we haven't seen all night. Josh Alexander's singlet is in Kurt Angle style. He's got like the pin, back when Kurt Angle wore like the black with the pinstripes with hints of navy blue, and there was a rose on the back, kind of like the main event mafia type gear. So Josh Alexander lets us know even before he does one move, this is a this entire premise of this main event match is just to be a tribute for TNA, and I loved every second of this match. This is my match of the week. I rate this higher than Dax versus Will Ospreay. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch Taiga Style, Lee Moriarty versus Konosuke Takeshita last night, which I heard was amazing. I did not get to see that, but this is my match of the week by far, and it's probably because I'm a TNA mark. But let's get into it. Like I keep saying, Josh Alexander has the Kurt Angle style singlet. Moose has 2 title defenses. Sorry. Alexander has 2 title defenses since winning against Moose. He retained against Moose, and then he beat Tomohiro Ishii. So he's definitely been fighting people that are stronger and much more powerful than him. But Josh Alexander, both of those matches went over 20 minutes, we're told. So kind of like he has all the stamina in the world type thing that the announcers were trying to get over. We get a BME attempted by Josh, and then a BME attempted by Eric. Both of them missed, but that's our signal that this is going to be a tribute match. The BME is the finisher of Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. Again, I really, really wish Christopher Daniels could have been on this card, but at least we've seen him on Impact within the last year. So um, I can't complain too much. At least we've seen him there recently. And after those BME attemptings, we now get trading forearms, trading slaps, and then trading chops to the chest. So a little bit of grappling, a little bit of strong style to start out this match. All stuff we really haven't been seeing all night. So this match gets a huge thumbs up from me overall, even without the tribute stuff. Josh gets the better of the trading of strikes, of course. And now we get the Samoa Joe face washes by the boot in the corner by Josh Alexander. Definitely, if you saw it, you know, oh yeah, that's Samoa Joe's moves. But the announcers tell us even if you don't know. So, like I said, the announcers do a great job of explaining everything in this match. And this is when I note in my notes here, oh, this is going to be one big tribute to 20 years of TNA Impact. And guess what? I'm here for it. I love it. I'm a TNA mark. This is exactly why I'm watching the show. I haven't loved everything you've done in the last 10 years, but boy, I sure loved that first 10 years. And man, I can't believe you guys are still alive. So I'm here for it. We get a picture perfect, or wait, no, before that, a table is set up by Cody Deaner on the outside, and Eric Young is on the verge of going through it, but doesn't. So keep that table in mind for later. But then we get a picture perfect elbow drop from Eric Young. So Eric Young just doing one of his own moves, but that elbow drop is as classic as any other TNA move because Eric Young is a TNA original, going back to the Team Canada I was talking about earlier. So almost a 3 count off of that elbow drop, and which makes sense. It was picture perfect. Now we get EY, Eric Young. I might call him EY from the rest of the match. Starts to unhook the apron. We saw this happen on Impact where Eric Young unhooked the apron covers and then took off the mat covering to expose the wood. And we ended the last Impact show with Josh Alexander bleeding from the head after getting pile driven through or into the exposed wood that's normally always on the mat, but we never see it, and it has a huge padding over it. So that was a good visual. So we get a tease of that again here, where EY then goes to do that after the close 3 fall on the elbow drop, and EY doesn't do anymore. He just unhooks the apron for later. EY then hits the stroke. That's the finisher of one Mr. Jeff Jarrett, who dominated TNA, even though he was the booker. He was the one deciding who wins, and Jeff Jarrett was the champion. And many times he should have dropped that title, most notably to Monty Brown. Jeff Jarrett completely destroyed Monty Brown's career. Later on, we found out Monty Brown wasn't going to have a long career anyway. Once Monty Brown did leave, he became Marcus Corvon in the WWE version of ECW. And shortly after, I actually got to see Marcus Corvon in WrestleMania 23 here in Detroit, live and in person. But shortly after that, Marcus Corvon left the business for good, and that's because his sister unfortunately passed away, and Marcus Corvon / Monty Brown wanted to look after her children and didn't want to be on the road anymore. So unfortunate there, but yeah, Jeff Jarrett's reign of terror, as people call it, definitely should have dropped the title to Monty Brown for one example. But yeah, Eric Young doing the stroke here is perfect. That was always the heel champion, Jeff Jarrett, winning with the stroke. That's TNA in a nutshell right there. So they're doing all the good and bad stuff. TNA hit the greatest hits in this match, which I just enjoyed all of it for sure. So EY hits the stroke, the ultimate heel finisher in title matches in TNA. Of course, Josh Alexander kicks out. Josh Alexander gets the Kurt Angle ankle lock on now, but to be fair on that one, Josh Alexander has been deploying the ankle lock for a while now. So, but still, shout out to Kurt Angle on that one. We get a black hole slam from Eric Young now. Eric Young has a long history with Abyss. The black hole slam is the finisher of Abyss. Another there, I couldn't imagine TNA without Abyss. He just did so much. He sacrificed his body just as much as Mick Foley did for his entire career, and Abyss did it all for TNA. So Abyss and AJ Styles are and Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels are just right there. I'm probably Cowboy James Storm as well on my Mount Rushmore of like ultimate people. Like get Jeff Jarrett out of that. He probably made it worse. But the crowd at this point chants, "This is wrestling," and I'm not right down. We're definitely getting the TNA greatest hits, and I'm marking out at this point too. Like I'm still marking out. It's 2.5 hours later. So the ring mat cover on one of the corners of the ring is starting to come up now. Maybe because Violent by Designs, Cody Deaner and Joe Doring are still on the outside. So maybe they did a little bit more work to expose that. Because it looks like it had been done a little bit more work, but they've stayed out of trouble for the most part. I'm pretty sure it was a no disqualify or a regular rules match. So Eric Young came in not as the champion, and Eric Young wanted the title, so they couldn't directly get involved. But here we go. Right after all that, This Is Wrestling chant and the ring cover is coming up. I was waiting for this one. We get a Styles Clash from Josh Alexander to EY. Really well done. Both of these guys are just such good wrestlers. They can pull off any of these moves. Perfect people to have in the main event for a match where they're just going to be doing moves they normally don't do, but they've been done. I mean, Eric Young has taken all these moves multiple times, and Josh Alexander's whole gimmick is that he's a TNA mark. Like he keeps talking about how the story of this match coming in was Josh Alexander is so thankful of the Impact, and he was a huge Impact fan growing up. And meanwhile, over here we got one of the TNA originals who doesn't give a crap about the history. Eric Young doesn't care about anything other than getting the title. So that was this. I meant to mention that earlier, but just the story of this match is great. I liked it better than Okada versus Jay White. I might get a lot of hate for that, but Okada versus Jay White was, yeah, it had all the story in the world. And yes, it was a pivotal moment in their careers last weekend. But my God, that match was so slow paced. I mean, we're getting minutes after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes pass of one move, do storyline work, 45 minutes or 45 seconds of selling, do another move. Not to get into that too much, but I was liking the pace of this match. I was liking everything about this match. Um, where was I? So we just had that Styles Clash from Josh Alexander to Eric Young. Now we go back to the ankle lock. Eric Young's really struggling at this point. Josh Alexander grapevines the leg. All those TNA Kurt Angle fans knows when he gets the grapevine on the leg, it's probably over. And EY does indeed tap out. But the match is not over. 1 second before Eric Young taps out, Cody Deaner throws yellow powder. So instead of the normal white powder or chalk or whatever they throw in the face, yellow for the yellow design. Violent by Designs color scheme is yellow. So I like the idea of dastardly heels putting food coloring or dye into their powder so that it can be color schemed to their color scheme. Like that whole idea is hilarious to me if you take it as real. But obviously, seeing that gives them a good visual here. Yellow powder in the face. Eric Young did tap out, but the referee did not see it, so the match is not over. Cody Deaner then gets taken out by Josh Alexander. And then that table that we forgot about set up on the outside from earlier comes into play when Joe Doring tries to get at Josh Alexander. But here comes the Olympic angle slam from the apron to the outside through a table. Josh Alexander takes out Joe Doring. Now Cody Deaner's back on his feet. He's got the Violent by Design flag, their weapon of choice for the most part. Josh Alexander dodges that, and then goes to the outside to get the hockey stick with the Canadian flag that Scott D'Amore must have planted earlier. Of course, Josh Alexander, also from Canada. Great stuff here. And Eric Young's from Canada, too. Mind we forget, even though he's basically billed from Nashville, Tennessee now. But just like Rusev or Miro over in AEW, he's from Bulgaria, and he's also from Nashville. But he's from Bulgaria, man. Come on. But anyway, we get a guitar shot now, a guitar out of nowhere. The true heel finish for all those Jeff Jarrett. You get again, shout out to Marky D123, but you get the nut shot, you get the ref bump, you get the stroke, and you get the guitar to the head. And Eric Young hits Josh Alexander over the head with a guitar. It looks like a little bit of blood formed at this point. Somehow Josh Alexander kicks out of that. The referee was back up at that after that point. The crowd's just going insane. Eric now tears the rest of the ring apart, exposing that wood underneath, hits the pile driver on top of the wood, but Josh Alexander again kicks out. Then we get the Samoa Joe Uranagi from the corner by Josh Alexander to the exposed wood. A C4 spike onto the exposed wood. 1, 2, 3. Josh Alexander, still your champion. Best match I've seen of the week. Exceeded all my expectations. I'm biased, though. I'm a TNA fan, but wow. That was phenomenal, pun intended. And I just really enjoyed the show. I'm looking forward to see where they go from there. Every time they have a show from like this, they don't ever capitalize on it. I don't expect it to happen again, but I wish it would. I hope all the best for Impact. I'm going to get going. I got to get going. This went too long, but thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back with more reviews